Hello guys, welcome back to my channel and enjoy this fanfic part 2. Now let's start the fanfic. Once she was dry, Mebuki teased with the notion of disrobing, but she thought against it. That was for tonight's lesson. Yet, a sneak peek wouldn't hurt any. She moved to sit on the bed. She sat right next to Naruto. Her scent must have been assaulting his nose with the wondrous smell of citrus shampoo. Sochi, be a dear and dry my legs please, Mebuki said. She lifted them up and placed them on Naruto's thighs. He stared at her in disbelief while she handed him a towel, seemingly unaware of the effect her display was having on him. Oh, she was very much aware. Even now she could feel the tightness in his shorts against her bare leg. She rubbed her legs along his growing shaft for a time. Sorry for getting you wet, but I'd really appreciate it, she asserted. Naruto didn't say a word, but he took the spare towel and began wiping away the water from her legs. He gently brushed his fingers over her skin. The clothes soaked up the water, but this was not what had Naruto mesmerized. Her could feel the shape, muscles, and slight creases of her legs. The way they softly rubbed his thighs was utterly exhilarating. He wondered when his wipes had turned into caresses. He made her giggle when he rubbed each of her toes before moving back to her legs. He hoped he was doing whatever he was supposed to be doing. He wasn't used to touching a girl like this, or at all really. Despite how perverted he might seem sometimes, he understood he was being a bit bashful right now. However, that only made Mebuki smile. She wouldn't tell him, but her son's forbidden touch shot arrows of electricity through her body. His rather clumsy, yet firm fingers heated the fibers of her legs, which sent fierce fire into her loins. Despite herself, she moaned. Ah, Sochi, she exhaled. Ooh, her naughty boy had liked that if his length was any indication. He mostly kept to the lower part of her legs. He never seemed to go beyond a certain boundary, and she was aware of where that boundary was. However, before she could move, she felt his hands move to her thighs. He rubbed the outer wall and the inner side. He was so close. She tried to keep her hands to herself from showing that she was becoming addicted to his touch, but her beautiful son was so gentle it made her nipples pierce the towel. Mebuki moaned again. Naruto suddenly found his confidence rising. Again, he tried to take things slow so that if ever his mother decided that things had progressed enough, then there would be enough leeway to stop. However, he had another problem. I think I'm done. I don't think your legs are going to get any drier, ya know, Naruto stated. Mebuki's face was flushed with arousal and embarrassment, but her eyes had quickly been clouded by the lust of their actions. Any previous resistance which she had been showing before was not so apparent this time. Oh, just look at her son with those big, wonderful eyes of his. It was enough to make a woman grow weak. I don't think so, honey. I'm still wet in some places that you haven't gotten, Mebuki said. She grabbed his hand and gently slid it across her creamy thighs. Higher and higher she took him until he laid just inches from going between her legs, under the towel. Naruto swallowed the lump in his throat. As if his morals, attempting to swim in the vast of lust they found themselves in, he spoke. K-Ka-chan, I can't. I do love you, and I appreciate everything you're doing for me, but, aren't we just going to regret this later? Naruto asked. Mebuki smiled. Such a heart of gold her son had. Such a well-meaning and respectful young man. One didn't see this type young man very often, but it warmed her chest. For him to be so considerate just only made her desire to push forward with this act. This roleplay that they found themselves had already risen beyond what could be deemed appropriate. They both understood this. They understood this very well, but Mebuki leaned forward and caressed his cheek. Oh Sochi, I could never regret such gestures from you. Besides, this is to prepare you for your future spouse, my daughter-in-law. It is a husband's duty to not only satisfy his wife mentally and emotionally, but also physically and spiritually. That same is to be said of a wife as well. We're merely practicing and learning, she said slowly. Her words were dipped in honey and her gaze was laced with lust. The sea was too strong, and the tides were too fierce. Naruto drowned. He slowly moved his hand under the towel which covered Mebuki's body. A cavern of darkness surrounded him for a second until his fingers came into contact with the wet part he had missed. However, unlike the wet parts of her legs which were rather cold, this felt very warm, hot, and sticky. I suppose Jiraiya-sama didn't teach you about this, did he? Mebuki asked. Naruto stiffened. Right. This was supposed to be a lesson after all. He tried to clear his head enough to answer, but he could just feel the urge to flick his finger across what he knew he had bumped into. Judging by the flushed look on his mother's face, she knew what he had hit as well. He spoke. No, but I do know about that stuff. When I was younger I did have material for one of my jutsu. Now that I'm here, in this situation, I might have needed those lessons, but I'm glad I'm learning them from you, Naruto answered. Oh, you like teaching with your Ka-chan. You know this isn't usually the way the talk goes, right? She asked rather humorously. She enjoyed his reactions to her words and she was sure that she was going to enjoy them as the week went on. I never really did have the talk. I kind of just learned about it on my own from books, and not that stuff the pervy sage wrote, Naruto explained. Mebuki was a little worried at this information, but that's what their practice was for. Well then, without looking, why don't you tell your Ka-chan which parts of her body her naughty son is caressing, Mebuki replied. Naruto took a deep breath. He could feel his heart in his stomach. He could also feel knots of discomfort coming forward, but his rising lust was not to be ignored. Even now he was rather embarrassed that his fingers kept massaging the outer folds of his mother's entrance. Ah! Mebuki moaned aloud. Her legs gently caressed Naruto's thighs. His eyes closed. I'm waiting, Sochi, Mebuki reminded him. Her tone had only made his throat drier. His lips were glued shut, but it was obvious that the room was becoming flooded with their combined UAL energy. He exhaled. I guess I'm touching your, Naruto exclaimed. Mebuki didn't know why, but as soon as her perverted son admitted those words, she could feel the inner walls of her nether region loosen. His hands were definitely bigger than she had figured. Yes. Yes. You dirty boy. Where did I raise you wrong? Touching, caressing, massaging your Ka-chans like this. Oh Kami, it feels good, she claimed. Naruto found his focus waning with the acknowledgement of this declaration. He wanted to see more. He wanted to touch more. He wanted to learn more. Feeling his eyes on her towel, Mebuki smiled. Very good, so Akai. And now, there is a nub near the top. What? Ooh, what is that called? She asked. Given that the towel was still blocking his view, Naruto moved his hands to the top of Mebuki's. His thumb must have brushed over something because suddenly she arched her back on the bed and her legs fervently moved across his thighs, providing his growing length with adequate stimulation. He wasted no time hitting that spot again. Naruto didn't know much in the way of technique, but he remembered the past couple of places that seemed to really make Mebuki's chest rise and fall. The way her quivered beneath his fingers drove him nigh mad. Perhaps, it was starting to understand why Jiraiya acted like such a sleaze. Was it acceptable? No, not really, but now that would be the pot calling the kettle black. This is your, Naruto answered. He did remember reading about this stuff as well. Granted, his Waijutsu was rather incomplete since the spoke helped cover the things which he hadn't figured out yet. He had been too embarrassed to truly try. Now, however, he was feeling rather adventurous. He decided to try with something else. While he massaged his mother's, he slid 2 fingers into her. As best he could, he stirred her up, and her moans were his reward. Ooh, ah, oh God. Sochi. Oh my wonderful Sochi. That feels so good. Is this really your first time? Mebuki asked. While this was not the most experienced touch she had ever felt, there was still something to be said about a son, roleplay or otherwise, ally stimulating his mother. The way his fingers electrified the nerves within her flesh made her legs go weak. Her breathing was quickened from the jabs and taps his thumb made on her. Though he did not know it, but he massaged her labia with his other fingers. Each part of his hand seemed to be doing something in order to bring her great pleasure. It was pleasure she hadn't felt in a long time. Mebuki could feel her towel sliding off her body as she continued moving, but she made no motion to recover it. With time, and enough movement, the towel fell off her body. It slid to the floor, and this gave Naruto the most perfect view of her body. Her skin glistened from the shower she just had. Her perky nipples pierced the air, indicating the state of her arousal, and her flat stomach moved in coordination with her chest as she huffed. Mebuki bit her lower lip. Keep going, Sochi. Oh, practice makes perfect, she claimed. Naruto continued moving his fingers in and out of her. In, out, in, out. Over and over he heard the squelching sounds of her lust spilling over his fingers. He wanted more. He wanted to touch more. But, where did the boundary lie? Where was the line of too much? He didn't know. They hadn't established it. Mebuki, however, was quick to answer that question. She grabbed her son's hand and slowly eased his fingers out from the work they had been doing. Her young son wasn't even able to let the thought that they had done enough enter his mind before she lifted up his hand. The sticky residue of her juices engulfed his fingertips. She seemed short of breath. So far so good, Sochi. I never knew you were so dedicated. Now then, here's a 2-part question. What is this called? And, what does it taste like? She asked. Naruto exhaled. He wasn't stupid. Well, at least he didn't think so. His mother had become ally excited under his ministrations. Her body was preparing for the possibility of with him. Naruto just didn't have it in him to say the word though, but, as his mother did for him, he licked his fingers free from the juices which had flowed from her. I think we both know what that is, Ka-chan. As for the taste, I guess it seems a bit sour. Kinda like a piece of candy, Naruto explained. Mebuki held in the laugh which might have threatened to expel from her lips. Well, she would give him half a point. There was always room for improvement. Then again, perhaps a little tease would be nice. I see. Well, I suppose we can stop here for now. If that's all, then how about we watch some TV? I hear there is an exciting movie coming out today, she said as she got up from the bed. Naruto widened his eyes when he saw her move. They were finished. Just like that. But, didn't she say he would get something extra? They were just going to stop. Now, Naruto thought himself to be rather reasonable, sometimes. If Mebuki really did want to stop, then he knew he shouldn't make a fuss about it, but he could have sworn he was missing something. Mebuki had gone so far for him yesterday. Couldn't he return the favor? But, she wanted to stop. Who was he to ask her not to? This was just a week of parental roleplay. Once this week was over, they would both go back to normal with nothing but pleasantries, and Naruto would be alone again, just like always. No more home-cooked meals, no more welcomes home, and no more. Ka-chan, Wait. Naruto jumped up and grabbed her arm just as Mebuki was about to leave the room. She turned back to him, her face giving nothing away. She merely wished for Naruto to learn that everyone was entitled to some selfishness sometimes. She watched her son exhale. Though their session had taken a brief respite, his eyes were still burning with the flames of lust for her. Such strong, brave, wonderful, manly eyes. She could stare into them all day. Why, you said it's my birthday week, Datbeo. That means I still get wishes, right? Naruto asked. Mebuki slowly nodded. Her face showed confusion, though she knew exactly where he was going with this. Yet, she allowed her son the right to speak first. I want more practice. I want to keep practicing to make you feel good just like you did for me last night. It's only fair, Naruto said. Then, in a move which surprised even Mebuki, he swung her away from the door and back to the bed. Her eyes widened. Wow! Such force, such initiative. If she were honest, Mebuki had been a tad worried that, whatever they had at the moment, could only be instigated by her. She could understand Naruto's hesitation. Even she was still coping with what she knew was her own infidelity. Hell, leaving her marriage aside, even their roleplay was getting into the eccentric side where morals loosened. Yet, she never felt more aroused when he pinned her to the bed. Sochi, this was just a practice session. You can't possibly think of doing what I think you're doing, she claimed. Naruto could not resist. He could feel his erection tearing through his shorts. Did he assume he was going to have with her? No. He was still apprehensive even about this, but a son leaving a mother unsatisfied with progress had to be utterly ridiculous. It's as you said, Ka-chan. Practice makes perfect. And, as my mom, you know Uzumaki Naruto never stops until he gets it right. Naruto claimed. Before Mebuki could even speak, she watched her son tear the towel away that had been wrapped around her body. He admired her and her hardened nipples. As if driven by pure instinct, he took one of her buds into his mouth while his fingers quickly resumed what they had been doing, satisfying the growing fire within his mother's loins. Mebuki arched her back in stunned silence. As if a tidal wave of sensations ran through her body, she squirmed beneath his touch. Sochi. Oh my son. Oh my wonderful son. Yes. Yes. Oh. Ah. She cried as Naruto swirled his tongue around her areola. If one were to ask Naruto where this knowledge came from, then he would not be able to tell. Perhaps it was instinct. Perhaps it was that uncomfortable sounds he heard when the pervy sage had brought one or two women back to a motel for research. Hell, perhaps the senses of a pervert had been awakened in him. Either way, the sounds of his mother's voice were music to his ears. He had to continue. She tasted heavenly. The blonde Jinchuriki released his lips from her nipple, allowing cold air to breeze through it while he worked on the other. He pressed his chest against her body, almost attempting to completely possess her as his mother for an eternity. While his one hand was occupied with learning the inner depths of her honey pot, his other hand was busy caressing her cheek, tickling her and setting her body on fire. Mebuki found herself short of breath. Such vicious strokes, and such powerful ing was not what she was used to. Kazashi, Kami help her, was more of a traditional and gentle lover. Sakura's mother never did complain, but she had always hoped for something like this once. She just never expected to get it from her, for the weak son. Though the inexperience showed, the fact that it was her wonderful, amazing child that was stimulating her more than made up for the added pleasure. She raised up her hands around his neck. She couldn't stop him now. It felt too good. She pressed him harder into her body, she caressed his ear, and she praised him. For someone like him, an orphan, this must have been akin to manna from heaven. Oh my God. Sochi. Yes. Enjoy your Ka-chan's s. Enjoy your Ka-chan's body. This body carried you for almost 9 months. No one knows you better than I do. No one loves you better than I do. I love you, Sochi. Ka-chan loves you so much. Ooh, ah, oh my sweet baby boy. Oh, when did you come to desire your mother? She asked. She could feel her wrap around his fingers trying to take them in deeper. Like the edge of the abyss, he kept her there just teetering between there and not there. Naruto could not lie. Abnormal this was, but the joy he felt only fueled his passions even harder. Always. I always wanted you, Ka-chan. Ever since I first laid eyes on you, Dadbeo. I love you too, Ka-chan. I've always loved you, Naruto said. He did not know why he was crying, but he continued despite it. He seemed to be doing that a lot lately. Ah, Mebuki's mind felt fuzzy. Yes, she loved Sakura, her true daughter. She always would, but she came to understand that this 1 week promise with Naruto would not last. She could not abide by her promise of only 1 week. This was the type of need that only a son could understand of his mother. This was the type of need that a mother could only provide to her adoring son. By blood or not, Mebuki had already named herself Uzumaki Mebuki, mother of Uzumaki Naruto. Over the course of his movements, Mebuki noticed Naruto trailed lower and lower through the road of her body. He kissed her chest, and then swirled his tongue around her stomach. His fingers never left their duty toying with her s. Ka-chan, 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 he panted. It was as if his rise of teen lust had come to overpower her and wash her away. Naruto kissed her legs. Such carefully sculpted, toned, and maintained legs were they. The hammers and nails of shinobi training were carved into these features of his mother's body. With these same legs, she teased him relentlessly. He had been under her complete mercy until now. Yet, he was allowed to do this. He was allowed to kiss them, to praise them, to love them. He kept going down further and further. Just a little more and Sochi. Oh, Mebuki cried. Thank heavens the neighbors were usually gone around this time eating and drinking with friends, so no one was bound to complain about the noise. However, needless to say, but Naruto did just as his mother had done for him. He was learning the pleasure of pleasing the female through oral stimulation. His tongue struck the folds of her labia, which made Mebuki's legs quake with desire. Her feet rested upon his shoulders. She unconsciously widened her thighs, allowing him further access into the deepest depths of her sleek, flowing cavern. Her hands were not idle. One rested on her forehead while the other roughly, but not painfully, gripped her son's hair. Yes. More. Yes. 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 Oh my baby boy, such a fast learner you are. Is that what you like? You like Ka-chan squirming from your hot tongue? She asked. Her words only seemed to drive him harder. He couldn't help a response. Yeah, you taste delicious, Ka-chan. You always kept teasing me, testing me, seducing me. But you said it's my birthday week. I get anything I want this week, Dadbeo. Do you know what I want? Naruto asked. His teeth brushed against her swollen, which made Mebuki jump. The air exhaled from her lungs. Oh God, what was her son doing to her? She could feel her quivering. She could feel her breath getting shallower. She could feel the flames within her body starting to explode. She wondered if she was going to pass out. Oh yes, yes, it's your birthday, baby. What do you want? Oh, tell Ka-chan what you want. Tell me, my darling son. She claimed. She was so close. She could feel it. Just saying this immediate family term over and over was making her numb. She could feel her consciousness slipping. All it would take was one word too many. See cum for me, Ka-chan. Just like I did for you. Any perverted mother should be able to do this much. Cum for me, Mom. Naruto exhaled. He rubbed his on the side of his bed. The stimulation was too much. He could feel her drawing near to him. Mebuki clenched her leg muscles. Oh, such a bad son. I'm gonna cum for my Sochi. Sochi, you're gonna make your Ka-chan cum. She claimed. She grabbed his head and pulled him forward. Suddenly Naruto closed his eyes as the fruits of his labor splashed over his face. Just as Mebuki had done for him, he tried swallowing what he could. He could feel his rubbing against the sheets of his bed before he grunted and shot rope after rope into his bed. As for Mebuki, she felt like she had been floating in a sea of pleasure before the waves of fire expelled from her body. She panted. She had never had an orgasm quite like that, not even with Kazashi. She panted and watched Naruto lick the remainder of her essence from his face. He then climbed next to her and laid on the bed. He huffed as he looked at the ceiling. So, did I pass? He asked, a huff between each word. Mebuki stared at her son before she took him into her arms. She cuddled his head while his arms encircled her waist. Their room was ignited with the scent of their lust, but the afterglow was well worth it. Room for improvement, but you were wonderful, Sochi. She exclaimed. Naruto couldn't resist smiling. Both had not intended it, but they slowly fell asleep. They would wake up in the middle of the night and take care of what transpired before returning to rest. And what is so important that you would have me postpone the advancement of the Zetsu and the rest of the Edo Tensei shinobi? The fourth great shinobi war is soon to be underway. This better be worth my time, Toby claimed. Ever since the failure of the limited Tsukuyomi, Madara had been busy testing the effects of what the actual infinite Tsukuyomi would do once the plan had come to bear fruit. Now, Kabuto Yakushi asking for them to hold off on the plan which had taken so long. Said shinobi smirked beneath his cloak. His pale, scaly skin glowed with a strange illumination beneath the lights of his laboratory. It hadn't been too difficult to fashion one for himself. After all, he had been the guard and right-hand man to Orochimaru, the man who prided himself on uncovering the vast mysteries of life, moral or otherwise. Ah, you think I wish to back out of the game at this point? Rest assured that I am as invested in this as you are. I'm merely leveling our playing field some more. After all, it's always a benefit to devastate the enemy's side while keeping yours intact. Besides, I'm sure you'll look forward to what I have to offer, Kabuto replied. Behind his mask, Toby raised an eyebrow. It is said that dealing with snakes tends to lead to one's death. Toby understood that very well, but he had not come this far by being stupid. Any strength which could tip the odds in their favor was always welcome, but he would be the one to review the necessity of this offer that Kabuto was presenting to him. Toby followed Kabuto through the halls. Such silence, such unnerving silence, it was almost unbearable. They came up to a door. Each side slid away from each other, allowing for more appropriate access. They walked further. I managed to uncover the DNA of some rather interesting subjects. It would have been a simple matter to perform the Edo Tensei, but where is the fun and the value in that? Instead, I took it further. I perfected what Orochimaru-sama tested. No flaws, no instabilities, and no mistakes, they are perfect. It's just a matter of what you wish to do with them, Kabuto said. Toby frowned beneath his mask. He had contemplated putting the rather unstable medic nin out of his misery, his being Toba's. Speak clearly. What have you done that needs this hold up? Toby asked. Once they stepped inside, the Akatsuki leader noted that it was very dark. The only sound which could be heard was that of their footsteps along the tiled floor. What have I done? What have I done? I have done it. Behold, my babies, he exclaimed. As soon as these words expelled from his lips, the lights came on with an intense glare that was nearly blinding. Toby covered his eyes for a moment before he stared forward. Toby was without speech. Words seemed to fail and die in his throat. Within tubes of green liquid, female lifeforms floated. 3 of them to be exact. The first, her hair long, and as black as the charcoal which burns an intense fire. The second, hair just as long, but skin and hands just as pale. Pure lavender. The third, long again, and red as wine which fills the glass cups of royalty. Such a beautiful expression of fiery rage. Toby smirked behind his mask. He kept himself from laughing. Yet, he did not keep himself from clapping. He clapped, and clapped, and clapped. Over and over he clapped, and the noise filled the room where Kabuto had performed his most perverse experiments. Yes, perhaps the Fourth Great Shinobi War could take a brief pause, if this was the end result. If he could work on this, then who knew what else they could accomplish? Yes, perhaps a brief respite was welcoming. After all, Uchiha Madara wasn't going anywhere. Yoshino released a breath as she continued to enjoy the onsen vacation Mebuki was paying for. Honestly, despite the odd situation, it felt so good to get away from that house of lazy men. For all her husband's genius intellect, he had the passion and determination of a snail. Perhaps something like this was exactly what she needed, but Yoshino also remembered why she was even here. Mebuki was currently over at Naruto's house. Come to think of it, this was the last day. Yoshino would be returning home tomorrow and everything would go back to what it should be. Yes, this was for the best. The only reason Yoshino even went with this ridiculous idea was because she did feel her friend was right. Yoshino did feel bad for Uzumaki Naruto. She felt terrible. Yes, there were many orphans out there, all of them not knowing the love of a mother and father, but not all of them had been subjected to the kind of history that the blonde was. Where some had friends, he had no one. Where some had caring attention, he had none. Yet, he strove to become stronger, better, and greater than what his past had dictated he should be. If a week of motherly attention could make him greater, then as a mother herself, how could Yoshino disagree? Raising her legs, Yoshino dipped them out of the hot water. The night air touched her skin. Mebuki said that if she had not helped Naruto then something bad would have happened. Whether that was an excuse or not did not really make this feeling of uncertainty any less apparent. A small sigh, Yoshino stared up at the sky. She hoped Naruto found what he was searching for. She also hoped that Mebuki had done what she needed to. If not, then perhaps there was nothing to be found at all. Was there? Some say that the sweeter the dream one has, the more bitter it becomes when one wakes up. Naruto understood that. Of course he understood that. But, it did not make this feeling of helplessness any better. Where had all the time gone? All of the joyous memories, all of the laughs, all of the close encounters they shared, all of them played like a film reel through his mind. They made him happy. He would not lie about that, but they almost threatened to crush him as well. No, Naruto. You might be an idiot, but you weren't insensible. This was always going to happen. This was just a rest stop along the weary road of your life. You were not supposed to stop and build a house, nor a life here. You were supposed to stop, rest, and refill your weary soul before moving on. Mebuki had graciously given her time and energy to give you just a glimpse of what true mothers and sons went through together. You had no right to ask for more. What would happen if someone found out? You would break apart a loving family and Sakura would completely hate you. This couldn't last forever. Naruto gasped and opened his eyes. He exhaled and pushed himself up. He touched his face and realized he was sweating. The moon was still in the sky, its illuminating glow filled his room. With its light, he turned his head and noticed Mebuki sleeping soundly next to him. She looked so beautiful, his Ka-chan. He brushed a lock of hair from her face. What was he doing? After a couple of hours, Mebuki opened her eyes. She had just finished having a great rest. She turned over to greet her son. However, she found he was gone. Sochi. Naruto. Mebuki called. His side of the bed was cold. She looked around the room. Nothing was out of place. It was exactly the same as they had left it. Naruto wouldn't leave without saying something. What was going on here? This was their last day together. They had to make the most of it. Grabbing her robe, and tying it around her waist, Mebuki walked out into the hollow hallways. She remembered the days which passed. Laughter filled these halls, and if the walls could speak, then hopefully they would talk about the joyous moments which had transpired within them. Yet now, like lingering ghosts, there was a haunting silence which the blonde woman didn't like. She stepped into the living room. There was not a sound. She stared at the couch. She remembered the warm embrace of her son as he slept on her lap while she read her book. Her hands moved through his hair like she had done it ever since he was just a baby. She then turned her head and looked at the table where they had shared their dinners and their laughs. Mebuki's frown deepened. There was only one reason that he would not be here. Mebuki sat on the couch and placed her head in her hands. This was the hard part, letting go. Never doubt in Mebuki's heart that she loved Kazashi and Sakura. She loved her own family, but Naruto was her son, blood or otherwise mattered not, but what more could she do? Maybe she could set up a schedule. Once every 2 months or so. It wouldn't be so unusual. Plus, she had her disguise as well. She had already been out in public with him before under the henge and no one had been the wiser. But then she wouldn't be able to keep her promise with Yoshino, whom she had dragged into this. What do I do? What else can I do? Mebuki asked. She received no answer. There was only silence to greet her. Should she cook breakfast for when he came back? What if he never came back? What if it was too painful to come back? Perhaps she should go home now. Perhaps that would be easier for them both. Ka-chan. Mebuki slowly lifted her head. She saw Naruto standing in front of her. How lost had she been in her thoughts that she hadn't heard him return? She stared at his ragged clothes. No doubt he had done some pretty serious training without her knowing. However, the look on his face was not one she came to identify with after his usual sessions. As a mother, and a parent, she had always known to look into the hidden depths of those she was close to. Naruto had not left to train for the sake of training, his face told her that. He seemed remorseful, like he had done something he shouldn't have. Both stared at each other. Neither could tell what the other was thinking, yet they both knew why it was silent. They were not willing to acknowledge that they both knew about today. I'll be right back. Can you get dressed? I want us to go to some places, Naruto suddenly said. Before Mebuki could ask, she watched him disappear around the corner. He returned a moment later with clothes, and a bag. There was a smile on his face. His teeth, as white as pearls, shined in front of her. Please? He asked. The female Haruno didn't know whether she nodded or not, but she found herself putting on some clothes. She placed her feet into her open-toed sandals. She grabbed some clothes for the outdoors and quickly changed herself into her transformation while she was out in public with Naruto. It was nothing out of the ordinary. She merely blackened her hair, and made it a tad longer. She tied it into a ponytail. Truth be told, Mebuki had been a tad jealous of girls who had longer hair like her daughter. Sakura got that from Kazashi's side of the family. Once she was dressed, she returned to Naruto. He took her by the hand and gently led her outside. The blonde older woman didn't know why, but she felt a blush reach her cheeks. His strong, forceful, and powering pull made her feel surprisingly helpless. When had her son gotten so strong? Or had he always been this strong and because of these moments she was now forced to acknowledge it? Either way, she squeezed his hand as he pulled her out. The walk through the village was mostly uneventful. A rather awkward silence had come between mother and son. This continued until they reached their first destination. Mebuki stared at the academy grounds. She had come here many times both to drop off Sakura and pick her up from school. Why were they here? Ka-chan, quickly. Over here, Naruto said. He pulled her to a secluded part of the school grounds. A couple of trees, some shrubbery, and a large wall creating a barrier between the school and the rest of the outside was all that was there. Naruto had hid here many times when he tried to get away from the teachers. Mebuki watched Naruto take the bag he had been carrying and place it on the ground. He then pulled out a camera. A large grin came on his face. For Mebuki, this left her all the more confused and bewildered by his actions. "What are you doing?" she asked. Naruto didn't answer. Instead, he ran to one of the shrubs and placed the camera on top of it. He then ran back to his bag. What other surprises could her excited son have? Mebuki's question was answered when Naruto pulled out an old, worn Hittite. He also pulled out a sealed scroll. Though sealed, the mother could read the words on the body of the scroll. Their kanji read, graduation. Unbelief rushing through her body, Mebuki watched Naruto perform the henge as well. Her tall, teenage son had been replaced with a short, thin, 12-year-old boy. He scratched his cheek. No doubt he couldn't hide what he wanted anymore. Can you drop the henge this once? I'd like this to be more real, he claimed. By Kami, how could Mebuki say no? Congratulations, Sakura. You did it. You graduated. We're so proud of you. Mebuki said as she hugged her daughter. Sakura groaned while Kazashi patted her shoulder proclaiming over and over how much of a genius she was. Look out world, a mighty kunoichi has entered the ring. Kazashi said. Though Sakura's mother was sure that their daughter was embarrassed, the older woman couldn't stop smiling. She truly did mean well. To graduate from the academy was not as simple as some were led to believe. Now their daughter was taking her first steps into adulthood. Hey, it's that boy. I heard he's the only one who failed to become a ninja. Yeah, good thing too. Can you imagine if he was allowed to become a shinobi? Mebuki stared off to the side. There, on a lone swing, sat Uzumaki Naruto, his face dejected and despair the aura which seemed to cover him like clothing. The blonde woman looked away. This was her daughter's day. They had to celebrate. Come on, Sakura. We're going out to eat. Any place you like, Mebuki said. You mean it. You guys are the best. Sakura claimed. Mebuki and Kazashi laughed as they led their daughter away. Mebuki held up her hands and released the jutsu. Her body felt heavy. Why now, of all times, would her mind torment her with that memory? Now, she felt ashamed of her previous stance. If only she had known what she knew now. Perhaps, she could have consoled the lonely boy on the swing set. A cough to clear his throat, Naruto smiled. Yada. I did it, Ka-chan. Naruto shouted. He ran to her like he had just been awarded the greatest achievement in shinobi history. His smile beamed at her as he showed her his headband. He also gave her the scroll signifying his graduation. Mebuki did not say anything for a moment. She closed her eyes, lest she ruin the image Naruto was hoping to have for them. She smiled. She dropped to her knees. She then pulled him into the tightest hug that she could. Wow. You did it, Sochi. You actually did it. I'm so proud of you. You've made me so happy. Mebuki claimed, her voice shaking. Her body was shivering like it was cold, but instead she felt herself nearly bursting with joy. Not even her own daughter's graduation had made her this happy. Constantly Mebuki praised Naruto for his achievement. She placed soft, motherly kisses on his forehead and cheeks. She constantly told him how proud his father would be. She told him about those long nights they spent studying together. She praised him for never giving up even when it felt like he had every right to. Neither blonde commented on how their embrace seemed to get tighter with each passing praise. It was almost as if they would disappear from each other if they let go. I did it. I did it, Ka-chan. Naruto claimed. Mebuki nodded. Yes, you did, Mebuki said. The click of the camera was heard. It took a picture of them holding this embrace. They then posed for another picture. Mebuki wrapped her arms around Naruto's neck as they stood facing the camera, smiles on their faces. Naruto did funny and ridiculous shinobi poses with his headband and academy scroll. She laughed at him and his silliness. The camera captured all of these moments until its shutter finally stopped. Naruto collected the camera and the two walked from behind the corner. They were about to leave the academy grounds before Mebuki spotted the swing. She slowed to a stop. Sochi, Ka-chan was always too busy before, but, would you like to ride the swing this time? For me, she asked. The young boy turned his head to the swing he used to sit on. He shivered. Never had he gotten the true joy of a swing with someone else. He walked over to it. So many memories with this swing set. For so long, it seemed to draw the line between him and those with normal lives. This was where he lived, in the shadows, away from the light. He took a seat. It creaked just like always. Maybe you should henge back, Ka-chan. You could get seen, Naruto said. However, Mebuki did not change to her disguise yet. Instead she walked behind him. Then people are going to see a mother giving the greatest son in her life a push on a swing. Here we go, she said. Before Naruto could speak, she laughed as she pushed him. From the shadows of the trees and into the light, Naruto received an amazing view of all that he could see. He swung back down and the woman pushed him again. The sun felt warm against his face. The wind felt cool against his hair. He had swung here many times, but none of them were ever like this. Both laughed as Mebuki pushed him forwards. Sakura never did like swings. Finally, both stopped and Mebuki resumed her henge. Naruto undid his as well. So where else do you want to drag me? She asked. Oh, she was going to wish she didn't say that. The gleam in Naruto's eyes scared her. He grabbed her hand. He was going to milk this for all it was worth. Both ran through the village not caring who saw them. By the time they arrived home, it was dark outside. Whatever there was to do, they did it together. Naruto guided Mebuki inside and closed the door. Eating out at a fancy restaurant, walking through the park, telling tales of shinobi missions, and sharing concerns for the future. Nothing was too big or too small to warrant their attention to each other. As a child's worries are neither too big nor too small for a parent, this was of the same reasoning. Well, I must say that was very fun. Did you have fun too? Mebuki asked. Naruto quickly nodded that he did. They both fell on the couch exhausted. Suffice to say that they didn't need to have dinner since they had eaten practically everything in the village at least once. Slowly as both caught their breath, their smiles slowly faded away. Silence entered the living room once more as it did this morning. The light drips of water from the kitchen faucet were the only pieces of noises which filled the room. Sochi, No matter what happens tomorrow, I love you. You will always be my son, Mebuki said. Naruto did not respond. She didn't expect him to. Instead, she was going to have a quick shower and get ready for bed. She stood to her feet and made for the hallway. She did not make it very far before a pair of strong arms wrapped around her. They held her with surprising strength, yet firm tenderness. Naruto, we both agreed. Please, please don't go, Ka-chan. Mebuki's eyes widened. The tremble in his voice, the crack of his tone, weakened her resolve. Despite all of her senses telling her not to, she turned around. His hair covered his eyes, but Mebuki did not doubt the teardrops which fell from his face into her blouse. His fingers clenched her dress just a bit tighter. Today was the greatest day of my life. I'd give up my dream of being Hokage if I could repeat this day forever, Datbeo. I know I'm being stupid. I'm a big, stupid idiot. I can never thank you enough for this week, but. Naruto could not speak, his words kept dying before he could get them out. He really was a big idiot. He was willing to risk his friendship with Sakura, Mebuki's marriage, his dream of being Hokage, and Mebuki's relationship with Sakura, all because he hadn't been able to keep his mouth shut. All because he wanted to be selfish. Mebuki grabbed Naruto's arms and released herself from them. She walked away from him and down the hall. Naruto watched her leave. His legs felt weak. He clenched his fists. He wanted to hit something. He wanted to scream. He wanted to. Kuso. Why me? Why me? Why didn't you just leave me alone like everyone else? Why did you have to take pity on me? I didn't ask for this, Datbeo. Naruto growled internally. The blonde genin exhaled. He heard his shower running. What was he doing? If Mebuki wished to leave, then he had absolutely no reason to stop her. It wasn't her fault. None of it was her fault. It was his fault for falling prey to his weakness and his insecurities. Naruto entered his bedroom and threw off his clothes. He didn't remember where he threw them. He only remembered hitting his bed. It felt nice, but it felt cold too. Soon, it would feel like it always did, cold and wide, all the time. An apology, he would offer an apology, and then, with a bright smile and heavy heart, he would bid her goodbye. He curled up. That was for the best. Naruto heard the shower stop. He then heard the doorknob open. He didn't turn around, but then came the flicker of the lights, engulfing him in darkness. He felt Mebuki lean over him. She opened the blind, allowing the moonlight inside. Then more shifting of the bed came. The pitter-patter of her feet led him to believe that she was back on the floor. Sochi, the day isn't over yet, she claimed. Naruto's eyes widened. How much more was he supposed to take? He could feel his will breaking. Never mind tomorrow. If she didn't leave now, he worried he would do the same thing he had done not long ago. It'll be over soon enough. Then, I won't get in your way again, he replied. Sochi, look at me, Mebuki said. Naruto opened his eyes. Why look at the shame? The disappointment? The disgust? What point would there be in looking at what he just knew was waiting for him? Yet, her soothing voice sent ripples through his body. Curse him to hell. The young shinobi turned over on the bed and opened his eyes. Slowly, his eyes got bigger and bigger. Under the gaze of powerful moonlight, Mebuki stood before him, her body without a shred of modesty. Her full figure was in view of him. The smell of her shampoo filled his nose. She smelled lovely. Her fair skin seemed to be glowing from the light of the night outside. My son. My wonderful, beautiful Sochi. Mebuki said. She climbed on the bed and pulled Naruto to her. He sat upright with her. There's one last birthday present I can give you. If you are willing to share it with me, Mebuki said. Naruto found his mouth very dry. Of course, he had seen Mebuki without a covering of modesty before, but she seemed to radiate like a divine angel coming to greet him. Her body was by no means perfect, but, for Naruto, it might have been the purest thing he had ever seen. He could not turn her down. Instead, he croaked out, I've never. I hadn't. He tried to explain, but Mebuki leaned her face over until she stared into his eyes. Do you remember what we practiced? Let Ka-chan take care of you, she answered. She grabbed his hand. She then placed it on her. Its soft, yet fiery touch struck the cells of Naruto's mind. His breath suddenly grew shallow. He could feel her heart pounding in her chest. No doubt his mother was just as embarrassed as he was. A finger to his lips stopped Naruto from talking. Shish, Mebuki said. She then leaned forward and kissed her son on his lips. She then gently pushed him on top of the bed. Thoughts of her marriage, her family, and even her very reason for going through this were gone. Each of them had been washed away in a sense of rising euphoria and pleasure. She sighed. Dear Kami, she had become addicted to her son and his touch. Just having his hands upon her filled her with need and desire that she had not felt for so long before this week. As he kissed her, she loved the way he fondled her. Each was paid welcome attention. Just as she had taught him, he seemed to learn so well. Her tongue licked his lips, and her hands roamed his arms. She wanted him to touch her more, to familiarize himself with his mother who had taken care of him for so long. A moan escaped her working mouth when her son grew bolder. One of his hands left her and fell to her back. He held her like the strong man she felt he should have been all of those times ago. Breaking the kiss, she leaned up, allowing him to look at all he could see. Oh Sochi, I love you so much, Mebuki claimed. Her arousal was quickly evident by her stiffened nipples. Her open mount atop his boxers, the blonde woman could feel Naruto's erection rubbing against her. She gently rocked her hips. Ka-chan, that feels good, Naruto breathed raspily. He watched his mother seduce him with her body. Hers was a slow process. She wanted him to enjoy her. There was no need for them to rush, for they had all night. Yet, Naruto wanted more. He wanted to make her happy, to make her proud to call him her son. Naruto leaned up his body and wrapped his arms around her waist to keep her from falling. As Mebuki continually humped her son's gloriously tight erection, the Kyuubi Jinchuriki took one of her nipples into his mouth. As he had done previously this week, he applied what she had taught him. He ed her gently, yet firmly. His tongue swirled around her areola. Like sweet candy, he ate and licked at them both. Mebuki raised her hands and touched his head, pulling him further in. Ooh yes, Sochi. Yes. Oh Kami. You're wonderful. Lick them more. They're all yours, she said, compelling him to act further. Mebuki could feel her mound shivering. No doubt she had soaked her son's briefs in her juices, but she couldn't stop. Her hips kept moving. They moved to please her son and their explicit relationship which they had formed. Yet, he continued to lavish her like she was the only thing important to him. Naruto then surprised Mebuki by spinning them. A small gasp was all she got out before she found herself on the bed. She stared up at her son, his eyes hazed with lust. She wondered if he would even stop if she asked. Not that she would, but it was just a thought. Naruto laid his chest on top of her own and kissed her once again. She wrapped her arms around his neck. Kami, what was happening to her? She felt like this was her very first time enjoying the foreplay actions too. Such a tender embrace and such a powerful, amazing son was giving her pleasure that she had not known. Ka-chan, I love you, Naruto claimed. He broke the kiss and placed more on her neck and chest. He slowly worked his way down over her flesh. Mebuki's hands clenched on the sheets. No, if he said that to her, then she was going to come. She was sure of it. Soon, Mebuki realized that her son was teasing her. As he went lower and lower, she thought he would eagerly seek to please the place he was heading for. Instead, she felt the way he massaged her legs. He treated her like fine glass, so special, so precious. The woman panted as she pinched her nipples. Her breathing coarse and ragged, her legs helplessly lingered over her son's shoulders. She could feel her quiver. It longed for her son's touch to excite her. She wanted to come. She wanted to come from his touch. Oh Kami, what was happening? Her son was better than her own husband. How long had it been since she had felt so excited? Naruto wasted no more time applying what he had learned. He attacked Mebuki's shivering labia with his tongue, which rewarded him with another glorious moan from her lips. Oh, ah, oh, yes, yes, Sochi, your tongue feels so good. Oh my god. Praise after praise, Mebuki said to him. Naruto attacked her as passionately, yet gently as he could. His lips moved over her flesh with amateurish style, but determined resolve. He could feel the way her ed in his tongue. He had tasted her before and it was a rather salty flavor at the time, but now it must have been as sweet as honey, or maybe his mind was playing tricks on him again. Either way, he did not doubt the way she grinded her hips against his face with fervent need. He broke the contact for only a moment. He knew she was going to come soon. He could feel the way her legs shivered. He wanted her to be happy. He laughed at her while his hands massaged the inner walls of her cunt. It was hot, it was vibrating, and it was rich with flavor. Oh, yes. Oh Sochi. My Sochi is ing mai. When did you get so dirty? Mebuki asked. Her head thrown back, the sweat falling from her delicious body, and the feeling of her feet touching the muscles of her son, it was so good. Oh her son, her strong son. Forgive her. Mebuki didn't want it to end either. She wanted to cook many more meals for him, and she wanted to wish him home many more times, but she couldn't do it. She just couldn't do it. Sochi, you're gonna make me come. You're gonna make your Ka-chan come. The blonde female said. The genin did not stop his assault. He felt he could tell that his mother was close to her first orgasm. He only hoped he could give her many more before the night was over. Mebuki arched her back from the relentless assault upon her. Oh my god. She cried as her orgasm roared through her quaking body. This shudder surprised Naruto as he tried to dutifully take what he could, but the essence of her orgasm lingered on his face from what he couldn't get. As for the former kunoichi, she had closed her eyes so tight she was sure she was seeing different colors of lit fireworks. She panted and tried to catch her breath. That had been amazing. It was even better than when they were learning a couple of days ago. Sakura's mother watched Naruto stand up. He licked his lips of her nectar, which made her blush. Kazashi never was fond of it. The fire in his eyes stirred her instincts. She was about to be taken by her son. She, Mebuki Uzumaki for the moment, was about to commit one of the most taboo acts of society with her loving man. She looked at his tool. It looked so hard, so virile, and so ready to take her as a man takes his own woman. The leaks of precum dripped out of his twitching. It seemed like she wouldn't get to satisfy him orally this time. Ka-chan, I can't wait, Naruto claimed. Mebuki merely grabbed her legs and spread them open wide. Her longed for him. She longed for her son whom she had carried for 9 months. She longed for her son to return back to where he had been born. Then come to me, Sochi. Love me in the way that only you can, she replied. Naruto embraced her and slowly guided his body between her legs. At her entrance, he thrusted his hips. Mebuki clenched her teeth and ed in her breath as she accommodated her son's large organ. Kami. He felt wonderful. Every nerve in her body was releasing tiny shocks of pleasure through her body. She could feel the way her wiggled around him. Her body was effortlessly accepting him while he began his furthering his climb through the folds of her insides. Keika-chan. Naruto claimed. He held her. He held her as tight as he could. Then, before Mebuki could draw her own breath, he ed her. Naruto withdrew his hips and sent them forward. A rippling slap of fresh ushering through the room. His hot gasps tickled the top of her lips. There was no rhythm nor rhyme to his technique. He was very clumsy, but Mebuki had never felt more pleasure than this moment. Her son's hardbound, muscular chest against her stiffened nipples was completely exhilarating. Was always this fulfilling. Sakura's mother honestly couldn't remember. Sochi. Yes, me. Oh my baby boy, you're so hard. Ooh, ooh, oh yes, faster Sochi. Mebuki pleaded. Her breathing picked up and so did Naruto's thrusts. With each drive, Mebuki felt like her head was being pushed into the clouds. She wrapped her legs around his waist preventing his escape, but Naruto made no plans to. He grabbed her face and captured her lips again. Sweat began to pour from his body as he ed her tongue and fondled her s. Ka-chan, 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 Ka-chan. Naruto called again and again. Endless arrows of pleasure pierced his skin as he savored the feeling of his lost virginity. His mother had made him into the type of man that she had always assumed he could be. As she wrapped her arms around his neck and kept him close to her, he continued pounding her with as much love, frustration, and desire as he could. He knew he probably wasn't the best feeling she had ever gotten, but she was the greatest to him. If he did get married, then he doubted that his wife would come closer to this feeling. He could feel the way her hot, sleek massaged her luscious kisses against his lips were stimulating. His beautiful Kachan's moans were a symphony of music to his ears. Does it feel good, Sochi? Does me feel good? Your sinful mother taking away her precious son's innocence. How does it make you feel? The way you're taking me, like a big, hard, powerful beast. Oh my god, you're gonna make me come again. She claimed. Naruto could already feel her strain his. The vibrating heat in her moans into his ear told him that she had just had a second orgasm. I love you, Ka-chan. Oh no, please no. Not those words. Those words, at this moment were spirit-crushing. Even as Mebuki could feel her sons continue to drill into her sensitive flesh, she stared at him with open eyes. He was only staring at her. She was the exact center of this current world that they had made. Suddenly, her vision became blurry. She hugged Naruto just a little tighter and placed his head on her shoulder. I love you too, Sochi. I love you so much, she replied. Suddenly, Mebuki could feel Naruto's clench. Keika-chan, I'm gonna come. He warned. Inside, she said. Surprised though he was, Naruto's body kept moving as if he had been taken over by some otherworldly force. The ecstasy and pleasure roaring through his body of his satisfaction in his loving blonde mother, he tried to speak. But he never got to finish as Mebuki folded her legs even harder than before. His toes rested at the nape of his. She could feel the veins pulsing inside her. Yes, he was going to come. She was going to accept all of her son. Her marriage, forgotten. Her family, forgotten. Her place in society, forgotten. The only thing that mattered was her son having the best experience of his life. She would handle the consequences when they came, but for now the only thing that existed in her world was him. Come Sochi. Come inside me. Go ahead. That's what you want, isn't it Naruto? To try and get your mother pregnant. You want to watch your mother carry your child. Me. Faster. Faster. I'll never let you go. I'll always be here for you. Flood my with your cum. She claimed. These words were too much. Naruto arched his back and pushed his hips forward. He felt his hit something solid, but it must have done something to Mebuki before she arched back as well. Oh me Sochi, she cried, no caring who heard as Naruto clenched his body. His vision flew through a myriad of colors as his cum blasted from his heated rod and into Mebuki's. She panted as she felt rope after rope cling to the inner chasms of her honeypot. Both fell to the bed with huffs. After a few moments, Mebuki turned Naruto over and took his into her mouth. Ka-chan? Naruto asked. He had been enjoying the afterglow of their experience, but his already sensitive organ began tensing up again against her mouth. The blonde mother stared at him with her glowing green eyes. We're not done. We have all night, Sochi. Let's make the most of it. Mebuki said. Once Naruto was hard enough, she got up and stood next to a wall. She then placed her hands on it, wiggling hair to him. The Kyuubi Jinchuriki watched as the essence of his previous ejaculation slowly fell from her body. Let's leave no regrets, Mebuki said. Naruto swallowed the lump in his throat. The way his mother's eyes sparkled to him. He couldn't disagree. The wall, the bed, the floor, there was no place in their bedroom that Naruto and Mebuki hadn't discovered the joys of mother-son unity at least once. For Naruto, it was as if he was drowning in an ocean of pleasure. For Mebuki, it was as if she was constantly being shown different colors of the prism spectrum. She couldn't count the number of times he had actually ejaculated inside her. It was most definitely not his fault. She had encouraged each and every single last one. Good thing this was a safe day. Finally, or rather upsettingly, as much as they wanted to stop time and let this moment continue for the end of eternity, their bodies could not do it. They fell to the bed exhausted. Mebuki smiled at Naruto's sleeping form. She held him in her arms as she closed her eyes. Blood or not, you are my precious Sochi, Naruto. Sleep overcame her. Morning came signaling the rise of the next day. Naruto turned over, a soft smile on his face. When the sun's light shined in his eyes, he grumbled and opened them. He noticed how spacious his bed was. He leaned up in shock. No, Naruto said to himself. He got up, not caring that he was immodest. The blonde ran through his apartment. He checked his bathroom, his laundry room, his living room, and his kitchen. Mebuki was nowhere to be found. The only thing that was left of her presence was a place of food wrapped in foil along with a note. Love, your mother. He read to himself. Naruto crunched the note in his hands and balled his fists. In his anger, he nearly smashed his table into the floor, but he did not do so. Whether because he had just woken up, or he felt drained from the sudden news. He couldn't get angry enough to destroy anything. He could only drop to his seat at the table, and cover his head in his hands. Within his kitchen area and table, he sniffled. Why do I have to keep training? We've been here for the past 6 hours, Ka-chan. Can't we take a break? Came the grumpy and tired voice of Kiba Inuzuka towards his mother, Sume Inuzuka. The young heir didn't think his complaining was so unfounded. His mother had woken him up at 2 in the morning for what she deemed special training. Kiba didn't like this training if only because it seemed to just be her kicking his while reprimanding him on his lack of discipline. They were Inuzuka. Since when was discipline a structure of their clan? Stop crying like a newborn bitch pup. You'll be leading the next generation of Inuzuka shinobi, Kiba. You're going to have to be strong. During the invasion assault by the Akatsuki, I was very impressed with your fighting capability, but you are sorely lacking. If I'm hard on you, then it's because the world is going to be harder, the Inzukua head proclaimed. Little did Kiba know that she was nowhere near as tough on him as her parents had been on her. While it had made her stronger, there had come to be friction with her parents, which was why she seldom sought out the time to visit them. Sum did love her son, but she was not about to see him grow up spoiled and arrogant anymore. She had heard what happened to him during the Chunin exam preliminaries. To taunt and belittle a fellow shinobi was to be nothing more than a mindless beast. Then again, children tend to be that way, but her son had better learn to have a more level head. She was going to teach that to him even if she had to beat it into him. Now, come at me again. Show me all that training that your sensei has you doing, she claimed. What followed next was another hour of fighting, lecturing, and teaching, though Kiba felt like berating was a better term for the last one. The sun was slowly coming up into the sky. By the time they were done, Kiba felt like his face had swelled up almost 2 sizes. Plus there was pain firing through his entire body. Sigh, are we done now? Now I gotta go on a mission with my face looking like an inflatable balloon, Kiba said. Sum lightly kicked him in the side. Better you having a bruised face than in the dirt, pup. Fine, take a shower and get going, she told him. Kiba grumbled to himself, but turned over and shakingly brought himself to his feet. Cammy. He hated his mother sometimes. He almost felt like he was going to pass out. He was also pretty sure he had a cracked rib. Maybe he should get to the hospital to get that looked at. Gee, thanks. TCH, sometimes I wish I wasn't your kid. Then maybe I wouldn't get beat up every single day. Good knowing this training's gonna be put to good use when I'm too sore to throw a kunai or too injured to fight back. Thanks, Mom. TCH, why can't you be normal? No wonder Dad left, Kiba said as he limped away. A frown on her face, Sum did not stop him. She watched him leave their training area. She placed her hands on her face and flew them down, wiping the sweat off. She picked up her scattered shinobi tools and placed them back in her pouch. Sum was, slightly, sure her son didn't mean what he had said. Even then, it was a rather unpleasant and unnecessary comment. She had enough troubles in her life without worrying comments like that. Perhaps a shower would do her some good as well. The shower was welcome, but the afterthoughts of her son's comments were not. Even as she got dressed to start her day, her mind kept replaying those words. It wasn't like her to linger on too many things. It only served as a distraction, but those words felt very deep. She exhaled. Perhaps a walk through the village would do her some good. Sum put on some clothes that would be appropriate for a brief outing through the village. She didn't need Kuromaru with her on non-shinobi business, and the alone time might do her some good. She grabbed her wallet, her keys, and anything else which might have been important and walked out. First thing Sum noticed was that there always seemed to be too many people in the section of the village that she lived. It was too much noise. Then again, she had come to deal with this noise all her life with her enhanced hearing. It wasn't as great as some people made it out to be. Regardless, she continued moving through the crowds. Truth be told, she did not know where she was going. The Inuzuka head didn't know how long she had been walking for, but she was bumped out of her thoughts when her shoulder collided with someone else's. A deep growl escaped her lips. Hey, why don't you watch where you're? She never finished her sentence when she saw one of Kiba's friends. It wasn't hard to recognize him. He was the hero of Konoha after all. Uzumaki Naruto, the boy who dreamed of becoming Hokage. Oh, Kiba's Ka-chan. Sorry about that, I didn't see where I was going. I'll get out of your way, Naruto said. Alright, good pup, she asked uncertain. She then watched him walk away, but she watched him walk as if his reasons for living had left him. His steps were unsteady, his back was slouched, and his posture was very sloppy. She had also seen the bags underneath his eyes. He obviously hadn't been sleeping well. It looked like she wasn't the only one with problems. Still, those were not her problems, so it was probably best that she not be involved. The Inuzuka matriarch turned around. She still did not have a destination in mind. Unfortunately, her walking was not very fast. Images of the blonde kept appearing in her head, making her frown. Her feet stopped. Thanks, Mom. Why can't you be normal? Kiba asked. Sume Inuzuka clenched her fists. Meanwhile, Naruto took a seat on a park bench, a popsicle in his hands. He hadn't had one of these since he had learned that Jiraiya had passed away. They say ice cream is comfort food, but he wasn't feeling very comforted at the moment. It had been about a week and a half since Mebuki had left. Lately, he had found himself staying out of the house longer and longer. He didn't want to go back there. Every time he did, the walls echoed a silent air of loneliness that only made him remember her more. Of course, he held no animosity towards her for leaving. She was his mother after all, but he didn't wish for a goodbye. In the meantime, he had preoccupied himself with missions. He had actually just finished an assignment that took him to the outskirts of Fire Country. Ero Sennin always used to tell him that in a shinobi's line of work, depression comes hand in hand. It only served to remind Naruto that Kakashi had lost his father to this emotion in combination with the animosity of the village. Most drink their problems away, but Naruto wasn't much of a drinker. Oh sure, he sampled it when he had come of age, but he did not get what it did that made Ba-chan so gung-ho about it. However, the other type was the people who work their problems away. Anything productive which can be done to mitigate the loss was better than nothing. Perhaps, he fell into that category. He worked himself hard on that mission. Day after day, night after night, he even made his walks back to the village slow. He didn't want to go back home. His apartment had, once again, felt too big to enjoy. His bed felt colder than usual on one half. He didn't like the feeling. He also didn't like the same recurring dream he had been having. Hey, how pathetic, right? Naruto sighed. His popsicle began to drip into the ground. His mind took him to happier times. How he wished those times could last forever. He placed his forehead down on top of his hands. He wondered if Sakura really knew how good she had it. So deep into his own thoughts, Naruto did not notice the shadow looming over him. Why the long face, pup? A voice asked, which jolted him from the depths of his own mind. He looked up and saw Sume Inuzuka, whom he had bumped into previously, staring at him. Her sharp eyes gazed over his forlorn expression. Naruto tried to smile, but he wasn't sure how great it must have looked. Oh, yo, Kiba's Ka-chan. I was just sitting here, thinking, he replied, but he did not expand upon his answer. Sume raised an eyebrow. She still had a feeling that whatever problem he was thinking about, it wasn't her concern, but a strong feeling within the back of her head pleaded, nay demanded that she address this issue. If she didn't, something terrible might happen. What exactly she didn't know, but whatever. Sume took a seat next to him. It must be some pretty tough thinking if you're wasting a perfectly good popsicle on a day like today, she replied. She couldn't stop the grin on her face when she saw the blonde quickly become aware of what she had said. He had glanced at his treat only to see it beginning to fall off the stick. He held it up. Want one? He offered. Double popsicles were always better for friends than for solos. Sume didn't accept the gift instantly. Truth be told, she still didn't know why she was here, but the point stood that she was, and it wasn't like she was doing anything anyway. Sure. Thanks for the offer, she said. She grabbed a hold of the opposing stick and pulled it apart from Naruto's. She then began to save the icy treat on this hot day. Naruto found himself doing the same thing. Two like-spirited individuals found themselves sitting together. So, what's got the hero of Konoha so down in the dumps? Sume asked. Out of the corner of her eye, she saw the smile which had been on Naruto's face slowly disappear until there was nothing left. The Inuzuka had nearly cursed at herself. Very tactful, Sume Inuzuka. Oh, well, a friend of mine had to go away. For my birthday, she gave me the greatest week I ever had. I knew she had to leave. I miss her Dadbeo. That was the best time I ever remember having. Finally someone other than Iruka-sensei celebrated my birthday, Naruto remarked. Of course he had cut out the more intimate moments, but the feeling was still there just as it should have been. Sume could tell that this wasn't the whole story. She could also tell that this wasn't just some casual friend that the blonde was referring to, but, more than this brought to her remembrance that, the one before her was an orphan. Not just any orphan either. He was without a doubt one of the most ostracized members of society. Sume could tell that while many called him a hero, some were too stubborn to let go of their feelings so many years ago. Those emotions do not simply go away overnight, especially not for the container of the Kyuubi no Yoko. Really? Well, what are you sitting here for? Just go see her, Sume said. Naruto held his head down and chuckled. He tossed his eaten popsicle stick into the trash from the bench. She had no idea how much he wanted to do that, but, what would he say? What would Mebuki say? Naruto had no right to intrude on her life more than he already had. What they had done, he would make sure to tell no other soul. To honor the sacrifices that she had made, he couldn't ask for more. I don't think it's my place to, Naruto replied. Sume raised an eyebrow. Just judging from this, either this woman had been very close with the blonde, or she had moved to another village and had further commitments to keep, thus making it extremely difficult for them to maintain their friendship. Yet, Sume felt something was missing here. As a mother, she couldn't count the number of times she had been able to read Kiba's intentions when he was trying to be evasive. Then again, her son never was good at deflecting answers. He was kind of an idiot like that. She wanted to offer some words of wisdom or what she felt would be appropriate, but nothing came to mind. It was obvious both had chosen their responsibilities over their own personal feelings in the matter. First love? Sume asked. She watched the small blush come to Naruto's face. She had intended it to be a small tease, but she was rather surprised when the blonde didn't immediately deny it. Instead, he just kept his head down. It was almost as if he was unable to properly answer or even comprehend the question. After some time, he spoke. I really don't know Dadbeo. For so long I thought the only person I could love was Sakura-chan, but, maybe I was wrong, Naruto replied. Oh, the irony. No matter if the ladies were different, he still loved a Haruno in some fashion. He did not understand his own attraction to that family. Sume stared at his expression. The whispers in the back of her head had once again returned. Just like last time, they were too powerful to ignore. The Inuzuka matriarch found herself slapping his back. Hey, come on, you're Uzumaki Naruto, the kid who is always smiling. Gotta give those kids someone to look up to. Here, spend the day with me. Let's do some exciting stuff, pup. It'll take your mind off your crappy problems, Sume replied. Naruto glanced at her with uncertainty. He doubted that his problems would just quickly go away from a girl's shopping spree. He didn't feel like being a pack mule. I don't want to bother you, Naruto claimed. He was trying to find a nice way to say he didn't feel like going with anyone, but Sume had quickly prevented his escape by clasping her arm around his neck. Nonsense. Pup. Let's go. The sun is bright and adventure is just around the corner. Sume claimed, her tone more upbeat. This surprised even her. She hadn't been feeling in the best of moods this morning, but this might not be so bad. Sume proceeded to drag Naruto across most of Konoha's shopping district. The village had been in a state of constant variance between celebration, confusion, and fear. War was no doubt around the corner. While most were worried if tomorrow would be the day that fire and brimstone would fall upon their homes, others sought to live in the moment, or living each day as if it were their very last. Because of this, festivals became a rather common occurrence. If there was a reason for people to celebrate, then they did it. When Sume said that adventure was right around the corner, she hadn't been kidding. Naruto watched in astonishment at the number of bar fights Sume, and by extension him, had gotten into. He also couldn't count the number of drinks she had shoved into his throat. The alcohol had burned his throat and he watched her laugh at his expense. Unfortunately for her, he couldn't get drunk so easily. Oh, he could get stupid drunk if he had enough to drink, but the chances of that happening were pretty low. Sume herself was no lightweight drinker. This was the biggest insult she had ever faced. Then, her competitive nature kicked in. What followed after was darkness. Sume opened her eyes and she found herself in a bed that she was sure was not her own. A groan escaped her lips. Her nose stung from the aroma of smelling salts. What happened? She asked. She didn't remember all that much. She remembered challenging Naruto to a drinking contest, but that was the end of it. Plus her head was absolutely banging from a bad hangover. Sume looked out the window. The moon shined outside. With her hearing, Sume heard footsteps approaching the door which led to the room she was in. The door then opened. She turned her head and noticed Naruto come through the door. He noticed her looking at him. Oh, you're awake. That's a relief. Here, drink this. Being around Ero Sennin and Tsunade Bachan, I've learned a thing or two about hangovers. But I don't think we'll be allowed back there anytime soon, Naruto claimed. Sume didn't even want to know what her son's friend meant by that. Yet, she found herself asking anyway. What happened? She asked. She gratefully took the hot cup of no doubt bitter ingredients she would have to swallow to ease this headache she had. Well, for one, that's the 6th bar we got kicked out of if you want to know. You power bombed one guy into a table, and you might have thrown the wooden tables around the room. It was really hard to restrain you, Dadbeo. The owner kicked us out. I didn't think it would look good on you to return you back home, so I had you rest here until you felt better. I gotta say, you're one weird Okawa-chan. Naruto answered. TCH, sometimes I wish I wasn't your kid. Then maybe I wouldn't get beat up every single day. Good knowing this training's gonna be put to good use when I'm too sore to throw a kunai or too injured to fight back. Thanks, Mom. TCH, why can't you be normal? No wonder Dad left. Sume frowned and closed her eyes. Hey, maybe the pup's right. Maybe I'm not normal, she said, the spitfire that was usually found her voice gone. She knew Naruto didn't mean it the way it had sounded, but that was the last thing she wished to hear. All she wanted was what was best for her children. Could she not even do that? Naruto, having heard the woman's brief response, quickly leaned up. You know, I got to experience what a normal mom is like. For someone like me, that was and still is the greatest feeling in the world. To have a mom as wild and crazy as you, I think what person could get bored of that? I know I couldn't. I'd have been very lucky to have you as a mom, Naruto said. Sume turned around just in time to see Naruto leave the room. She didn't say it, but she regretted watching him go. She didn't know what to say to that. She also didn't know what he meant by his previous statement, but she quickly came to find out when she turned around. On Naruto's nightstand laid a single picture. It seemed to be from when he was much younger. It was his graduation ceremony. He had that big, cheeky smile on his face that most pre-adolescent boys have when they accomplish great things. Sume remembered taking a picture with both Kiba and Hana for their graduations. It had never occurred to her that someone like Naruto might not have gotten the joy of recognition for so much hard work. Yet, the thing which stilled her body was the woman portrayed as his mother in the picture. Sume had met Mebuki Haruno a couple of times. Usually it was only in passing during academy parent-teacher conferences, but she had seen the blonde woman outside the village as well. Nothing came between them aside from the occasional hello and brief small talk. She was also sure that Naruto probably didn't mean to have this out. She grabbed it and held it under the moonlight. Naruto looked very happy. He seemed to almost be radiating the face of the sun in this picture. Mebuki was no different. She looked like a mother who had actually seen her child conquer the world just like all parents do. It made the Inuzuka wonder when this picture was taken. It looked fairly recent. Then again, could this be the friend he was talking about? Sume asked. It made sense in theory, but her head was pounding too much to even attempt to conduct an investigation into the matter. What the two of them did in their time was not her business. And yet, Sume found herself thumbing over the picture. Kiba never looked this happy when they took their pictures. He always seemed to complain one way or the other. Then again, Sume was like that too when she was a kid. The medicine taking over, Sume allowed herself to go to sleep. Whether she knew it or not, she kept the photo frame closer to her chest as she slept. Suddenly, Naruto's words felt very comforting to her. They say though you are asleep, you can hear, smell, and feel everything around you. That was the case for Naruto when he heard pans clanking, and food sizzling. Its aroma filled his nose enough to make him open his eyes. Truth be told, he didn't want to wake up. He hadn't slept that well on his couch and, once Sume left, he would go to his bed and get some actual rest. No, maybe he was just making excuses. Even if he had his bed, he doubted he would have gotten the sleep he wanted. Why? Because then he would be dreaming of Mebuki again and their times together. Hey, it was almost like some cruel joke. In any case, he opened his eyes and he saw Sume cooking in his kitchen. He leaned up from the couch. Sume-san, what are you doing? He asked. He watched her set the table. A grin in the mixture of animalistic and cheeky was upon her face. I'm invading your kitchen, pup. What does it look like? Consider it my way of saying thanks for sticking with me yesterday despite all the trouble I caused. She claimed. Naruto pushed the covers off his body and stood to his feet. The way Sume grinned at him filled him with that homely feeling Mebuki had given him those days ago. He saw her continue to set the table. She moved like she had been doing it the majority of her life. You don't have to do that, Naruto answered. No, that was wrong. He didn't want her to do that. Call him what you will, but it took a conscious effort on the blonde's part to not shiver remembering those times that he had loved so very much. Nonsense, pup. When someone does good things for you, you smile, grin back, and say, thanks. Sume claimed. Naruto didn't even have the time to reply to that statement before she pushed him into his hallway. Now, go take a shower and get dressed. It's not every day I cook for someone. Consider yourself lucky, she also claimed. She pushed him into the bathroom and closed the door behind it. Suffice to say, no one could have been more confused than Naruto at this very moment. What was going on here? He didn't get it. Was this some new prank that Kiba had gotten his mom to help him with? Naruto did not talk with Sume much, if at all. He had only seen her a handful of times and they weren't exactly close. She was the mother of one of his pain in the ass friends. She didn't have to go this far just to repay a favor. Nevertheless, Naruto stripped off his clothes and jumped into the shower. He then brushed his teeth and walked out of his room with some newly dressed clothes. He saw Sume sitting at the table, the breakfast laid out for them both. She welcomed Naruto to take a seat. He did so. She then offered him a plate before fixing one herself. Between you and me, don't tell Kiba about this one. He's a headstrong idiot, and he loves to think he knows what's best when he doesn't, Sume said. Naruto silently agreed. Though he knew he was perfectly capable of dealing with Kiba if said dog boy ever found out about this, he didn't want to have to start fighting one of his friends over a misunderstanding. Gotcha. I'm pretty good at secrets, Dadbeo. Naruto replied as he took a bite of the food that had been cooked for him. It was very good. Unfortunately, or fortunately depending on perspective, it tasted very much like Mebuki's home cooking. Was there some super secret underground mother's home cooking ring that he hadn't been aware of? He wasn't sure, but he kept it to himself. Here he was, in his house, having breakfast with Kiba's mother. If not for his experiences with Mebuki, then he would definitely not be able to keep his nerve as much as he was now. I'd like to think I'm good at keeping secrets too. So, mind explaining this one? She asked. Naruto watched her take out a picture frame and hold it on the table. It was the photo of him and Mebuki not even 2 weeks ago. A frown appeared on his face and he clenched his chopsticks. He had barely gotten any sleep, he had to lug Kiba's mom around, and now this. Where did you get that? He asked lowly. Naruto was used to being the butt of everyone's jokes, but he was not in the mood for games. Thankfully, Sume was not either, for she could hear the rising steel in his voice. It was obvious that the picture was worth more to Naruto than she had initially realized. It was on your nightstand dresser. I just wanted to know if there was a story behind this, Sume replied. The edge in Naruto's face slowly disappeared. God above, he was unraveling. He pinched the bridge of his nose. Maybe he wouldn't go out on a mission today. Maybe now would be a good time to wash his sheets and then go back to bed. That usual Uzumaki fire was not there today. Plus, he knew people were getting ready to be deployed for the allied shinobi forces. He had to be ready, and he most definitely was not ready. He grabbed the picture and stood to his feet, his appetite gone. Sume frowned as she watched his stance change. She did not get it. What had happened to the blonde that turned him into a literal endless canvas of emotions? Kiba, and many other people of Konoha, would describe Naruto as loud, active, bright, and smiling all the time. What kind of Naruto was she looking at right now? What happened to the Naruto from yesterday that she had been having so much fun with? Something was wrong. That much was obvious to the Inuzuka head, and it worried her. Call it a mother's intuition, but this did not sit well with her. I'd like to tell you, or tell someone, but I promised not to, for Mebuki-san's sake. I think she should be the one to tell you, Naruto replied before leaving his kitchen area. Sume heard the door to his bedroom close a couple of moments later. TCH, sometimes I wish I wasn't your kid. Sume pushed her seat back and collected the dishes. What am I doing? This isn't my business. Everyone has a bad day and everyone has their own secrets. I guess I'm weirder than I thought, Sume replied. She grabbed a piece of paper and wrote a note thanking her young host for the consideration. She then left his house without a word. Like yesterday, Sume found herself in a pattern of aimless walking. She hated that. More than anything else, as a leader, she hated indecisiveness. She was an Inuzuka. When they made a decision, they bit down into it and committed to it without hesitation. So why was she unsure of her path in regards to what she should do? This was not her problem, but something was speaking to her that it would become much bigger than just her problem if she did not do something. She did not like this feeling. A deep growl expelled from her throat. Like that of a dog, her teeth clenched against each other. She turned around and marched for the Konoha hospital. While she didn't know where Mebuki's house was, she knew where said woman's daughter worked. After all, the girl was a student to the Hokage. Where else would the student of the world's greatest medic nin work? Thankfully, the Konoha hospital wasn't too far away. She stepped inside and grunted. Sum never liked hospitals. With her enhanced senses, it was like walking through a constant canopy of unpleasant smells and sensations. Inuzuka were usually taken care of by their own doctors, but that was hardly why Sum was here. Hey, is Haruno Sakura here? I need to see her, she said to the receptionist. The woman seemed very busy because she didn't even look up at the mature Inuzuka. Haruno-san's schedule is pretty busy. Is this an emergency? The woman asked. Sum ate her teeth, but a little lie should hurt anyone. Yes, it's about her mother, Sum replied. The receptionist quickly spoke with one of the available staff members. Said nurse walked off, and in about 10 minutes, Sum saw the pink-haired female of Konoha's Team 7 come around the corner. Ah, Sum-sama, good morning. I heard you needed me. Something about my mother? Sakura asked. Sum answered those questions with a nod of her head. The Inuzuka matriarch was also quick to note that the tone in Sakura's voice was a bit harsher than a child should have about their parents. Pleasantries exchanged, she asked for Sakura to meet with her outside. The young medic nin didn't find a problem with this and followed her quickly. Once they were alone, Sum decided to merely lay her cards on the proverbial table. I recently became good friends with Mebuki. We're going out today, but I don't remember the way to your house. I just wanted some directions. Another lie, yes, but if that picture in Naruto's reaction was anything to go off, then this was not something that Sakura knew about. Then again, Sum could have also just been paranoid, but shinobi thank their lives every day when they feel paranoia. There is a reason for it. What surprised Sum was the huff Sakura gave. Sure, I can give you directions, but Ka-san's been in a weird mood lately, ever since she came back from her vacation. Tu-san said he spoke with Yoshino-san since they went on a trip together, but not even she knows. I also might have snapped at her again. I seem to be messing up a lot lately, but maybe you can get her out of the house. Here are the directions. Good luck, Sakura said before she ran back inside. She handed Sum a piece of paper just before she left to return to her work. The Inuzuka exhaled. Honestly, anything concerning Uzumaki Naruto was always bound to be complicated. Something was missing here, and Sum was determined to find out. She only hoped she wouldn't regret all of this snooping that she seemed to be doing. If Sum had to give thanks to Sakura for one thing, then it was that she gave very good directions. It hadn't taken Sum long to find the Haruno residence. It was actually much closer than Sum had originally anticipated. In any case, she sighed and walked up to the house. She then knocked on the door. Not even a minute passed and the door was opened. Sum-san, what are you doing here? Came the voice of Mebuki Haruno. If Sum was quick to notice one thing, then it was the small bags underneath Mebuki's eyes. It was obvious she hadn't been sleeping well. Her posture was also unsteady despite how straight the blonde-haired woman tried to be. Sum could also hear the underlying tones of Mebuki's voice. She didn't wish to be disturbed. Sorry, as one mother to another, I came across an interesting picture. I just want some information. It pertains to you and Uzumaki Naruto, Sum said. The Inuzuka matriarch's eyes narrowed. Mebuki had tried very hard, and to the normal person it might have worked, but Sume could see the tiny shivers that ran through the woman's body. So, there was indeed something going on here. Mebuki opened the door wider, allowing Sume to come inside. The former closed the door behind her. Sume exhaled. She decided to have some mercy on the poor woman. Listen, I'm not here to accuse you or rat you out. I'm just very curious about this whole thing. I just want to know what's going on, Sume said. Mebuki seemed to stare at her without emotion. It unnerved Sume a tad, but finally the blonde woman released a breath. Where did you learn about that photo? Better yet, why are you coming to me? Mebuki asked, still very guarded in her stance. She watched Sume laugh and rub the back of her head. Funny story about that. I think it's one best told over tea. Sume reached out. Mebuki took the offering for what it was and ushered the Inuzuka matriarch into her kitchen. She began to make their refreshments while her visitor took a seat at the table. Minutes seemed to roll by like hours, a silent agreement being made to allow them both to gather their troubled thoughts surrounding this present issue. It wasn't until Mebuki gave Sume her cup that Sume spun her tale of what had happened yesterday. Each detail seemed to make Mebuki's frown deepen. Sume was aware of this, and by the end of her story, Mebuki almost seemed pale. I see. So you found the photo in his bedroom when he was nursing your hangover, Mebuki replied. The mother of Sakura then did something which surprised Sume. She placed her head in her hands. Maybe I made it worse, maybe. I undid all the good things we experienced when I left without a word, Mebuki said. Sume raised an eyebrow, but Mebuki quickly got to explaining. She told Sume of the fight she and Sakura had. She told her of what she felt when she saw the pure unwillingness in Naruto's eyes to move on. She told Sume of the deal to be his mother for a week as a birthday present. Mebuki shared all of the things they had done together, which slowly turned from coherent speech into distorted sobs. She then told about how hard it was to leave. She spoke of how attached she had gotten. Over and over she claimed how much she had come to love him as her actual son. She spoke of how Yoshino had kept her secret for the week on the condition that she abide by her rule, and finish their business once the week was finished. She even told Sume about the activities that they had partaken in, which made the Inuzuka nearly gawk in surprise. To be honest, Mebuki didn't know what made her break down like this, but she told Sume everything. She even told Sume about her fight with Sakura. Sakura, can you help me wash these dishes? Mebuki asked. Sakura exhaled. Sorry mom. Get dad to help you. I had a hard day at work and I'm beat. I also have to get up early for tomorrow. You can handle a couple of dishes. Sakura claimed. Oh come now, dish washing can be fairly relaxing. Don't want to talk to your old mom. I don't think I'm being difficult, Mebuki said. Sakura exhaled again. Sigh. Just leave them in the sink and I'll get them before I leave tomorrow. Sakura replied back. Mebuki exhaled. She continued watching the dishes. That's going to make the food stick to the plates and pots. I want to keep everything neat. You know that, Mebuki replied. Honestly, what was wrong with her daughter sometimes? Naruto wouldn't have been this way. I don't think your dishes are going to be ruined from one night's soak, Mom. Besides, you're going to have to be doing them on your own eventually. I've been thinking about moving out, her daughter fired back. Mebuki's hands slowly stopped washing the dishes. Wow, that's a pretty big decision. Are you sure you're ready? Why didn't you tell us about it? Mebuki asked. I don't have to tell you guys everything, Mom. I just think it's time I've started living my own life. In 2 years, I'll be 18. I can't keep living with you guys forever. Sakura claimed from up the stairs. Is this before or after you started hugging us and crying like you were 10? Mebuki asked. Say whatever you want. I'm leaving soon. Oh yes. Go ahead and leave. All I asked was for you to help me with the dishes and you're claiming you're leaving. Mebuki fired back. Always. Her daughter was always like this. So damn independent one day and a person who couldn't stand on her own 2 feet the other. Yes, Mebuki loved her daughter, but it was maddening sometimes. Both of you stop shouting. We're disturbing the neighbors. We'll talk about this later. Kazashi said. No doubt he had been forcibly woken up from his sleep to the shouting that had been coming. Both heard Sakura closer her door with a huff while Mebuki continued to wash her dishes alone. She grabbed one of her sponges and watched it over. Here, Ka-chan, let me help you with that. You work hard. The least I can do is some dishes. Naruto claimed with a bright smile on his face. At least, Naruto would have happily helped me. As least, Sochi would have spent time with me, Mebuki said to herself. She clenched her fists underneath the soapy water. Where were these thoughts even coming from? Mebuki held up her hand and splashed the water in anger, a hard sigh from her lips. What was happening to her? If Sum were honest, she was not expecting such heavy stuff. She had thought it was merely something they did when he was younger, but it turned out to be more life-changing than Sum had given it credit for. Kiba's mother exhaled. As I said, I'm not here to criticize you or anything like that, but I do have one question regarding all of this. Do you miss him? Sum asked. Mebuki wasn't sure how to answer that question. It would not be appropriate for her to say yes, but the crushing feeling of her loneliness did not care what was and wasn't appropriate. She longed to cook more meals for him, to read to him while he rested on her lap, and embrace him even more passionately than Kazashi embraced her. Of course I do. But, what can I say? I promised Yoshino I would stop as soon as the week is over. The fact that we're even having this conversation is a gray area, Mebuki replied. Listen, I'm not condoning what you're doing, but, I guess I understand why you did it. No, you don't, Mebuki instantly replied, which brought Sum's face to her own. I know you have a son, Sum-san, but you could not understand why I did what I did. Never before have I been more jealous of you than now, knowing that you have a son and I don't. He might not have been my blood, but for that week I felt closer to Naruto than I ever did with my own daughter. For that week, I truly was. Uzumaki Mebuki. Until you come to love your child as much as I came to love Naruto as my son, I don't think you'll ever understand why I did this. When I was with him, I was so happy. It felt more home than even my own home. I don't mean to sound big-headed, but, in that week, I came to love Naruto as my son more than you or Yoshino love yours, Mebuki said. Sum did not say anything for a moment. This sounded like some bad novel. Yet, it seemed pretty obvious that she wasn't going to get any more than this. Well, if you love him that much as a son, then why aren't you with him right now? Sum asked. She got up and left before Mebuki could give an answer. The Inuzuka closed the door and released a huff. Sum loved her son. No matter how much of an idiot he was still her boy. She would gladly lay down her very life for him if he could continue to live his own. How could Mebuki have the kind of love for a son that she could claim she loved him even more than Sum loved Kiba? It was obvious this wasn't just some idle affair. But, if this was a joke, then Sum wasn't laughing. She would get to the bottom of this, the only way she knew how at the moment. Naruto released a breath as he finished sweeping his floor. He didn't know why he had kept cleaning it, but it seemed to make Mebuki smile when he did it. He had made it a point to do it more often. Maybe if she ever came back to visit, then she might be impressed that he had kept up the practice. Maybe now I can get a mission to take my mind off things, Naruto said. He hoped Sume had gotten home all right. Suddenly, a knock came to his door. A light sigh, the Kyuubi Jinchuriki put away his broom and walked to the door. He then opened it. Sume-san, what are you doing here? Naruto exclaimed in surprise. The Inuzuka mother was silent for a moment before she reached out and grabbed the blonde's head. She then took him against her collarbone in a tight hug. Is that any way to greet your mother home, pup? Sume asked, a wide smile on her face much to Naruto's absolute shock. For Sume, she might not know what was going on, but she was going to find out, even if she had to use the same method that Mebuki had. How did Naruto end up here? One day, he was cosplaying Sasuke and moping about for more than half a day. The rest of that day was spent with him having a night out with Kiba's mother, the latter of whom he had to carry home drunk. Now, come 2 days later, he was here on a training ground dodging the swift, vicious strikes of his apparent new mother. Come on, cub, is that all my son, the hero who saved Konoha, can do? Show me more, Sume said, her stance low and her claws out. To be honest, Naruto was kind of happy she didn't have her canine companion with her. Training or not, Kiba was not easy when he was paired with Akamaru. The same was easy to be said for Sume. It was not hard to see that she was not a Jonin for nothing. Canine companion or not, she was definitely worth her shinobi rank. Still, he did wonder why they had to do this at almost 6 in the morning. They had been out here for almost 2 hours. That wasn't to say that Naruto wasn't going to fight. On the contrary, he didn't complain about the training. It was actually a welcome change from working by himself for missions. Then again, he could do without her taunting. If you spent as much time fighting, as you did bragging Ka-chan, you might not be on your back right now. Naruto claimed. Sume was not sure what he meant before she felt him strike her just beneath her chin. It was a mighty strong blow, stronger than any strike Kiba had given her. She felt her legs buckle while her head jerked upwards. Before she could even retaliate, Naruto grabbed her arm and pulled her over his body. He then slammed her on the ground, letting out a cough from her. Sume released a small breath. This was rather unexpected. Sume had caught glimpses of it, but she was certain to say that Naruto was very strong. He was also very talented as well. Perhaps not in the way most people would define a genius, but no longer did she think anyone could claim that the blonde didn't think. This had been rather exhilarating for the past 2 hours. Not a single word of complaint from him. Every session Sume had with Kiba, the pup always had room to mouth to his mother. But Naruto, her current son, it still felt very strange to say, was much more disciplined than she had given him credit for. The former Inuzuka matriarch, currently Uzumaki matriarch, exhaled and looked at the clear blue skies. How long had it been since she had been forced to look upon them like this? She was not sure. However, what she was sure of was that the brat in front of her had done it. All right, I give. We can end training here, she said. She leaned up and stretched her back. It was a welcome, if brief, exercise to remove the stress from the morning. Or, it would have if not for Naruto speaking. Listen, Sume-san, I get what you're trying to do. It got a chance to think about it while we were fighting. You saw the picture on my nightstand, and now, this. I guess you spoke with Mebuki-san about what happened. I don't know why you're doing this for me, but I do appreciate it, Dadbeo. But you can't be seen with someone like me. You're a clan head after all. Maybe it would be better if you went home. It'll just hurt more when you leave, Naruto said, keeping this last part to himself. With this said, Naruto walked away from the training area without giving Sume a moment to reply. He headed back to his apartment to take a shower from the heavy battling he had done with Kiba's mother. Yeah, no matter how he sliced it, Mebuki, as his mother, was a birthday present. It was a solid excuse. He didn't have that with Sum. It was just him stealing away someone else's mother without a good reason. How could he live with that? In addition, she would leave, and the pain in his chest would grow larger. Yet, is that not what it means to be an adult? To see people come and go in your life, and to make decisions that you feel are best for everyone, and not just yourself. Many people told Naruto that he had to grow up, that sometimes he had to face facts. Well, the fact was that people had parents, and he did not. Roleplay or not, it did not change the cold, hard reality that no one could welcome him home every night. Naruto opened his apartment door and then closed it. The halls were silent. Then again, these days they seemed to always be like that. After he was done with his shower, he would have to give Sum her clothes back. Once the blonde entered his bedroom, he took no time in undressing. He then grabbed a towel from his closet and walked into his bathroom. He stepped into his shower and felt the water run over him. Yet, despite how warm it felt, he still felt like shivering. What was he even doing? Did he look that pathetic to people that they felt they needed to take care of him? The very thought suddenly made him angry. Naruto raised his hand to smack the water in anger, but he did not find the strength to bring the blow down. Why? Why did everyone care about him now? All the time he wanted people to see him, acknowledge him, be with him, when he was younger, and now, they fawned over him like he was some helpless babe. Why did everyone come now? Why did they have to love him now? The Kyuubi Jinchuriki felt the water hit his back. Mebuki Kachin, I'm sorry. I want you back. I want you to welcome me home again. I want to eat more food. I want to go out again, Naruto said to himself. He closed his eyes. Perhaps reality would not change when his eyes were open, but when they were closed, he was transported to a world where he could be happy. He could have his Ka-chan back. Naruto was not sure how long he stayed in the shower, but he stepped out even more exhausted than when he went in. As soon as he stepped out, the blonde gasped. Sum-san. Naruto nearly yelled when he saw Kiba's mother standing in the hallway. Her arms were rested at her side and she stared at him with those fierce eyes that most Inuzuka have. Given her sensitive hearing, there was no question she must have heard what Naruto had said in the shower moments ago. He quickly found his throat stuck as words failed to form that might question why the Inuzuka matriarch was in his house. Given how close she was to him, she effectively had him pinned between the door and herself. Then, she suddenly sighed rather tiredly. Get dressed. When you're dressed, come see me in the living room, she said. She then gave him space and walked away. While she walked away, he took notice of her clothes. Those were his clothes. So many questions flowed through Naruto's mind, and each of them was more disconcerting than the last one. Now as funny, active, and goofy as Naruto tended to be sometimes, he very rarely lost his nerve. Some might think otherwise, but he was good at keeping his wits about him. He had no idea what to expect from meeting Kiba's mother again. What did she want to tell him? How was he supposed to respond? What was he supposed to respond with? The time it took for Naruto to put on his clothes, in his opinion, was not enough to remedy the thoughts that were going through his head. All of his actions up to him sitting on the couch next to Sum were a blur. His eyes turned to her and he saw the focused gaze on her face. It was obvious her thoughts were very far away for her to not acknowledge him yet. Son, do you think I'm a good mother? Sum suddenly asked. The question was asked with reservation. This was something Naruto had never known an Inuzuka to do. Hell, he honestly wondered if Kiba ever heard of the word before. Plus, it also reaffirmed something for him. She was not willing to end this between them yet. He was too tired to fight back. Now that left him with her question. He wasn't sure how to answer it. For the majority of his life, he had never had a mother. Hell, his lone mother figure had been Mebuki for only a week. He had nothing else for reference. Still, perhaps he could speak from the 2 days that he had spent with her. Before Naruto could answer, Sum decided to speak. Why do you want to be away from me? Is it because I'm not like other mothers? Is it because I train you too hard? Is it because I make you wish you weren't mine? She asked. If one were to ask why the Inuzuka clan head was laying out her problems like this, well then it would be to the point that she had nothing left. When Naruto said those words in the training ground to her, it felt like a weight had come crashing down onto her chest that she couldn't get off. If this was called off, then Mebuki would be right and Sum would be unable to understand what would make a woman be jealous of having a son like Sum did. In addition, what would it say about her relationship with her own son? The very thought was nigh suffocating. Whatever confidence she had in coming into this life between herself and Naruto, it had been gone with that statement. As for him, Naruto could tell there was more to these questions than he had been led to believe. Something within him told him that, at their core, these were the same questions he had asked of himself too many times. Where did that fun, boisterous, confident woman go? No, it wasn't that he didn't wish he was hers. He wanted to be someone's again. He had the sweet tastes of that life on the other side and he wished for them again, but would he be betraying Mebuki's present to him if he were so casually accepting of such gestures? Perhaps, maybe even deeper than that, he believed that he didn't deserve to be happy as other people were. Perhaps for him, happiness was only a flickering flame meant to warm him for short moments on the cold journey of his life. Even when he had defeated pain, and the entire village acknowledged him, it seemed like it was only for a brief moment before he was forgotten. Not hated or despised, but forgotten. Naruto missed his parents. There, someone wanted him. With Mebuki, someone wanted him. That was all he wanted. He just wanted someone to want him. Is it because I make you wish you weren't mine? No, 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 no. Naruto placed his head in his hands. Sum turned to him in surprise of this action. Ever since she asked the question, 20 minutes had passed and the blonde spoke not a word. Maybe, in the end, he had nothing to say. The Inuzuka matriarch exhaled. Maybe this was just a waste of their time. Sum stood to her feet. She figured it was early enough for her to pack her clothes and leave. She began to walk away before Naruto grabbed her arm. His strength was rather surprising to her. Even as she faced him, he still kept his head lowered. Pup, Sum began. All my mothers seem to do is leave me. First, Ka-chan, then Mebuki-Ka-chan. Why can't I keep anyone I love close to me? I know it's not fair, Dadbeo, but my life has never been fair. How long are you going to be my Ka-chan too before you leave me? Sakura-chan, Kiba, they'll keep that feeling that I had weeks ago for months, even years, and I'll continue to be here, by myself in an apartment that continues to mock me. Is that all I am? Just someone to be pitied for a little bit and then thrown away? Tell me, what do I have to do to be a good son, Ka-chan? Naruto said, staring at Sum. Yes. Damn it, yes. He knew he was unreasonable. His mother and father died protecting the village. Mebuki was married. She already had a family of her own. The Haruno mother took time out of her life to give Naruto just the briefest glimpses of happiness than he had ever known. Mebuki owed him nothing. The world owed him nothing. Life wasn't fair. It didn't have to be fair. He should have been thankful for what he was given. But, how can one be thankful for what they are given, when it's always taken away? His friendship with Sasuke, his tutelage under the pervy sage, his hopes, his dreams, his sanity, his happiness, his mother's. Why did he feel like he couldn't keep any of them? Did no one want him? Sum watched Naruto shiver as he fell to his knees. His once warm hands felt so cold. His body seemed to shiver like a harsh wind blew through his house. The bestial Jonin stared down at the young man that knelt before her. Perhaps she did not understand a lot, but Sum was quick to learn that whether she knew it or not, Mebuki had shifted something in Naruto's psyche. The strong mental barriers he had placed within himself seemed to have cracked from the immense joy he had in that week that was his birthday. Clearly, Sum underestimated how much Naruto had come to love Mebuki as his mother figure. What was Sum doing this for? She had come here, invaded Naruto's life, pressed for this arrangement, and was she to leave merely thinking she had accomplished her own hidden motives? Here she stood, taking advantage of the pain, sadness, anger, and loneliness of the hero of Konoha merely to make herself happy. This arrangement that they had, that of a mother and son, was something one could not look down upon so easily. How could a mother toy with the emotions of her own son? Perhaps Mebuki was right. Sum did not understand. Listen, I'm not condoning what you're doing, but I guess I understand why you did it. No, you don't, Mebuki instantly replied, which brought Sum's face to her own. I know you have a son, Sum-san, but you could not understand why I did what I did. Never before have I been more jealous of you than now, knowing that you have a son and I don't. He might not have been my blood, but for that week I felt closer to Naruto than I ever did with my own daughter. For that week, I truly was. Uzumaki Mebuki. Until you come to love your child as much as I came to love Naruto as my son, I don't think you'll ever understand why I did this. When I was with him, I was so happy. It felt more home than even my own home. I don't mean to sound big-headed, but in that week, I came to love Naruto as my son more than you or Yoshino love yours, Mebuki said. Sum did not say anything for a moment. This sounded like some bad novel. Yet, it seemed pretty obvious that she wasn't going to get any more than this. Well, if you love him that much as a son, then why aren't you with him right now? Sum asked. Now, Sum felt like a complete fool. From how Naruto spoke, from how Mebuki spoke, it was obvious that it must have torn them both to part ways. However, by the definitions of society, it was only proper. The social stigmas that governed the world and its actions were what forced them to part ways. Mebuki could never be with Naruto for a long time without it raising suspicion. She had her own family to look after. What more could she do? The Inuzuka, no, the Uzumaki matriarch gave a deep inhale then exhale. She took her son's arm and knelt before him. No, you silly pup. A bad mother though I might be, I would never leave you alone. I know I'm hard on you, but it's because I want to see you succeed. Look, I'm not the best at the tenderness stuff, but I'm willing to stick it out if you are, pup. You're my son. I'll start acting like you are. Sum replied. Naruto looked up to her and he watched her drop to her knees. She then crushed him in a tight hug. How about we both learn what makes a good mother and son? With war on the horizon, when we don't know when we will be deployed, we should spend as much time learning as we can, pup, Uzumaki Sum said. The blonde looked at her for a moment before a smile broke his face. Yeah, that sounds like a good idea. Ka-chan, Naruto replied. He then felt the warm, yet firm touch of his mother's hand upon his head. She ruffled his spiky hair as if he were back to his prepubescent days. Soon, the Uzumaki apartment home was filled with laughter. Stop laughing at me. I said I know how to cook, Ka-chan. I bet you did something to it. Naruto growled as he wiped the wasted ingredients he had been cooking off his body. Damn it, he had just taken a shower that morning as well. The Kyuubi Jinchuriki then yelped in pain when she pulled his ear. Yeah right, pup. Maybe you just at cooking after all. God knows you didn't get these skills from me. You'd better hurry up and prepare the next meal or we're not having. Sume gasped as a load of hot water splashed into her face. She then heard the laughter of her son while she noticed a pot in his hands. I can play dirty too, Ka-chan. How do you like my instant shower meal? Heat up cold water until it's warm and serve it to the jerk laughing at you. Simple and easy dadbayo, Naruto remarked. He then flinched when he saw the glare his mother was giving him. Sume chuckled along with him, but the aura which surrounded the Uzumaki matriarch was anything but joyous. You've got 3 seconds to run before I make you regret that, Sume said, her voice deeper than Naruto would have liked. Apparently, 3 seconds were 2 completely different sets of time to Naruto and Sume. As soon as those words left her mouth, the brown-haired woman jumped at her son, displaying the flexibility of their clan to pounce on him. However, the amount of training he had always endured quickly had him counter her. He grabbed her hands and held them. Kuso. She's almost as strong as Ba-chan. Naruto thought to himself. It didn't help that he didn't have the leverage with his back against the stove. Surrender now, pup. I'll only knock your head a little after. Sume teased. Oh, she was going to smack him over the head one way or the other. His surrender just made it of how hard she should hit him after. Naturally, Naruto looked at his mother like she was crazy. Ha, surrender. Uzumaki Naruto never gives up. You taught me that, Mom. The blonde replied. Sume felt her chest rise in joy from that sudden praise to the statement her son had given. Kiba had never truly thanked her for giving him anything training related. It was a rather nice thing. Unfortunately, Sume didn't have the chance to enjoy the feeling because she felt Naruto's momentum swung her body until he pushed her against the wall. His hands caught her wrists and kept them pinned against the wall just as she had done to him not too long ago. You think you can roughhouse your mother, pup? She asked. It was clear that her son was barking up the wrong tree. No pun intended. Well, I don't see you trying to stop me, Ka-chan. Naruto replied. Sume did not know why, but that aggressive statement made her smirk. A low growl rumbled from her throat. She could feel the muscle fibers in her son's arms fueling his strength in keeping her bound. She could see the fire in his eyes. Hey, where was her meek brat of a son that she had been talking to 2 hours ago? Hey, don't get ahead of yourself, pup. You might be the hero of Konoha, but I've been in combat a lot longer than you have, Sume claimed. Before Naruto even knew what his mother was thinking, he found himself flung onto his back. His body dropped with a hard bang. Hey, be quiet up there, or I'll call the landlord. Someone shouted, banging on the floor below them. The Kyuubi Jinchuriki winced at the voice, but that didn't stop him from surprising Sume, who had been mid-jump ready to pounce on him, by quickly grabbing her arms. Just as she had done to him, he carried her momentum and rushed her into the floor. He tied her legs with his own and he raised her hands over her head just as he had done when he pushed her against the wall. Both panted as they stared into each other's eyes. Does my pup treat all his girls like this? Sume asked. Naruto was quick to learn what she was talking about as well. He could see the upheaval of her chest from the fits of air she inhaled. He could see the sweat, or was it the water he had poured on her prior, dripping down her forehead. As for Sume, she was quick to understand this situation as well. How long had it been since someone had pinned her in such an aggressive manner? Not even Kiba's father had been capable of that. Plus, was it her or were his eyes much closer than she remembered? How long was he going to keep her like this? Suddenly, both heard a knock at the door. They did not speak. Instead, they kept looking at each other, as if ascertaining the meaning to their position just now. Yes, though the rationale said otherwise, it was obvious that Sume was in the house of her son's friend. If he had her pinned under that logic, then this was indeed rather dangerous. If he had her pinned as her son, then why could she feel her throat grow dry? The door was knocked upon again, and both finally found some words. I should probably go get that, Ka-chan, Naruto said, his hands still wrapped around her wrists preventing her escape. You'll have to let me go to do that, Sume said, her mouth rather breathless. She felt her son's hands loosen on her wrist. He pulled away from her face and untangled his legs from her own. He then pulled away from her rather slowly. Surprisingly, Sume didn't hit him on top of the head like she was threatening to. Instead, she dusted off the front of her clothes, picked up the fallen pots that had been on the floor, and began cleaning up the area. Once this was done, she quickly moved out of the living room and back into the bedroom. It wasn't that she was particularly afraid of being caught, but it might look bad for her son if she were to show up. Yes, that was a plausible excuse. Sume motioned for Naruto to answer the door with her hands as she vanished away. Naruto did not know why, but he found himself missing that energy they both displayed a moment ago. Kami, did he love his first mother, Mebuki, but there was something about the exuberance that his current mother held that made him smile. He wondered if his real mother was so energetic. In any case, he let his annoyance of being interrupted from whatever they were doing subside as he answered the door. Hello, he asked. You really are troublesome, Naruto. How many times am I going to have to knock before you answer? Asked Shikamaru. The Chunin held the typical lazy look in his eyes that all Nara men seem to have. The blonde exhaled and fully opened the door. Hey, I don't have parents to cook dinner for me. I was busy Dadbeo. Anyway, what do you want? It's rare for you to visit me, Naruto replied. Shikamaru wasn't sure but he thought there was an insult in there somewhere. He decided to ignore it for another time and cleared his throat. Yeah well, I'm not here on a social call. Lord Hokage told me that she needs you in 3 days. There's gonna be a mission for you delivering supplies along with an assigned Jonin. Also, in order to bolster our ranks for the coming war, we're getting ready for the Sunagaku Chunin exam. Hokage-sama wants you to sign up. It's bad publicity if the hero of Konoha is still a genin, is what she said, Shikamaru replied. Naruto had a hard time processing this current information. He was going to participate in another Chunin exam. He would finally catch up to everyone else. That was great news. Hell, it was enough to nearly make him cry, but he held it together enough to ask Shikamaru about the other mission that had come to him. Oh right, that one. Tsunade-sama said that she's trying to find a suitable Jonin to evaluate you during the mission. I was sent to ask Sume Inuzuka if she would join. She's been an experienced Jonin for a number of years, she used to have her own genin team, and she's good at passing evaluations on others. It wouldn't be a surprise if Tsunade-sama picked her. I'm sure she had Kakashi or any other Jonin close to you in mind, but it's better to get the opinion of the older generation than the newer Jonin, Shikamaru said. With her hearing, Naruto had absolutely no doubt in his mind that his newest mother had heard that. He could just imagine the grin on her face. Great. That's great news Dadbeo, Naruto remarked. He suddenly felt very tired. Right, well, I'm going to hope I can catch her and ask later. See you later. Oh, happy belated birthday, Naruto, the Nara Chunin claimed. A little late in Naruto's eyes, but better late than never. He just gave his thanks for the congratulations and closed his door. Naruto was expecting for there to be laughter as soon as he closed the door. Instead, he was greeted with the same silence as always. He turned back into his kitchen. When he opened his refrigerator, he took note of the groceries that Mebuki had left him with. It made him rather disheartened to think that he might not get to cook for her anymore. He had even bought a new cookbook for the occasional meal. As soon as he took out a pot, he heard Sum walk into the room. Good luck trying to impress me. I don't impress easily, Sum said as she moved into the kitchen as well. She did not hear Naruto give her a smartass reply like most young men his age might have done. He merely looked at her from the corner of his eyes and, dare Sum say, she felt a rush of heat through her body from the look he gave her. Ah yes, how could Sum forget that her son was a natural prankster? And, what that meant was that, he had a very dangerous mind. One that not even she would want to be on the receiving end of. Yet, there was something in that gaze that drove her inner canine instincts wild. The only question was, what was it? Yoshino did not like to think that her actions caused the misery of others. Granted, she had been a kunoichi some time ago. She had never excelled past Chunin. There were many things that she was good at, and she did not think ascending the shinobi career ladder was one of them. In any case, the point she was trying to make was that she began wondering if her promise had done more harm to Mebuki than good. Where was the wife of the Nara clan's clan head going with this? Well, when children in the academy becomes friends, it is only natural that the parents follow suit. Admittedly, Shikamaru never spoke with Sakura very much. He only called her troublesome, which Yoshino took the word for what it was. All Nara men seemed to have some agonizing synonym to the word. Still, they interacted enough that Yoshino, Mebuki, and all the mothers of their children's generation became friends, or at the very least familiar acquaintances. They had friendly gatherings from time to time. Usually they spoke about their husbands and other topics ranging from food to the current politics running the shinobi world. Yet, ever since the end of that promise Mebuki had made with Yoshino, the Haruno matriarch seemed to retreat into herself. Kazashi expressed concern that his wife seemed much more passive than usual. He talked about the fight with Sakura, and Yoshino had tried bringing Mebuki out with the rest of their friends. It hadn't turned out very well. Mainly because some of the mothers started talking about how irresponsible their sons were, or how they expressed jealousy that Mebuki and Ibaya Yamanaka had daughters. Ibaya was able to laugh at the thought of Ino, but Mebuki was not. She started everyone by running off without another word. That had happened just 20 minutes ago, and, Kami be damned, Yoshino was beginning to wonder if she even had a full grasp on the situation between Mebuki and Naruto. What went on that she wasn't getting? Don't misunderstand the Nara matriarch. She loved her son very much. If she was hard on him, then it was to make sure he had a life without regrets. Just 1 week as a roleplay mother and son turned into this. What does Uzumaki Naruto have that any other son wouldn't have? Yoshino thought. She highly doubted the young boy was doing something so evil as messing with Mebuki's emotions. No, this was Uzumaki Naruto she was thinking about. The boy didn't have a malicious bone in his body, that she was aware of. Sigh, if only she had thought that way a few years ago. Yoshino did not understand it. She had been the mother of a son for over 16 years. Mebuki, who had a child of her own, had been a mother for just as long, yet, she had only been the mother of a son for a week. So, What did she and Naruto have, that Yoshino and her son didn't have? Perhaps she would have too. Find out. No, no, that was ridiculous. What was she even saying? Mebuki, I can't hold it. I'm gonna come inside you. Kazashi said to his wife. Mebuki panted as she felt her husband's harden. Wait, dear, just a bit longer. I'm almost. Whatever words the Haruno mother was going to say were drowned out by her husband's violent grunts as he thrusted his hips into her body. She could feel the semen flowing into her body. Sweat poured down Mebuki's face as Kazashi rested on top of her. Good thing, Sakura's got the late shift. This would be embarrassing to talk about, he laughed. However, Mebuki was glad he wasn't looking at her. If he was, then she no doubt would have been forcing a smile on her face, a smile that no doubt would be cracking right now. Ka-chan. Oh God, you feel so good, Ka-chan. Ka-chan, I'm gonna come. Why yeah, I guess she would, Mebuki said. She then felt her husband roll off her and into his side of the bed. It wasn't long before she could hear the small snores of his slumber. Yet, Mebuki had been close. She had been so close. Mebuki turned over and rubbed her husband's shoulders. Kei Kazashi, can't we go on for a bit longer? I know you're not busy tomorrow, Mebuki pleaded, nay begged. She could feel the fires in her body cooling down. She could feel her heart rate returning to normal. No, she didn't want it to return to normal yet. Sorry honey, that was all I had in the tank tonight. Can do it some, both. Z's. Kazashi yawned harder and pulled the covers over his body. Had he kept his eyes open, he would have seen a flash of anger run across Mebuki's face. She clenched her side of the bedsheets as hard as she could. Ever tighter than that, did she close her eyes. How's this, Ka-chan? I told you I learn quick. Your taste's so good, Datbeo. Once Mebuki opened her eyes, she was surprised to see wet drops of water around the area that she had her head lowered to. She looked at her sleeping husband, and frowned before getting up. She grabbed her robe and walked out of their bedroom with haste. Yeah, I can go again, Ka-chan. Ka-chan, you feel so good. If it's with you, I could last all night. The mother of one quickly walked into a secluded part of her house and locked the door. She grabbed a chair and rested her legs on the table. She opened the lower end of her robe and jammed her finger into her still wet. Sochi. Oh Sochi. I miss you. I miss you so much. Mebuki huffed as she could feel the previous fire begin to rise within her body. No, she could feel her body growing hotter and hotter with a burning desire. She could not bear to tell her husband that as he ed her, she constantly had to stop herself from calling out Naruto's name. She had to constantly stop herself from calling out her son's name. Ka-chan, Ka-chan, Ka-chan. Yes, Sochi. Oh me, my beautiful boy. Oh my god, you're gonna make me come. Oh, by the gods above, Mebuki could see herself wrapped in the arms of her son. She could feel the heat from his body against her own as he pinned her arms to their bedsheets. With deep, long, powerful thrusts he rammed into her and she wantonly accepted his power. She could feel her body shivering with ecstasy while the sweat from her boy dropped onto her chest. His bright, blue eyes, his long arms, and loving smile, they all filled her with pleasure and joy. She could feel her son grunt as rope after rope of semen fired into her womb. She could see and feel her legs secure around his waist, accepting this powerful domination of her body, heart, and mind. Oh yes, she missed this. It was enough to make her sob tears of joy. She could feel the way he bit her nipples. She could feel the way his hot breath kissed her neck. Such a loving, caring, devoted son. Just who could compare to him? She could feel how loved, cherished, and praised she was in his arms. She was his mother, the one who nurtured him and cared for him for so many years. Now, he repaid her in kind. She could feel the way he kissed her. She could feel the slither of his tongue on her sopping, pink, puffy flesh. Her very toes were curling from delight. Yes, Sochi. Me. Oh Cammy, I love you so much. You're big, hard, strong. The way you kiss me. Oh Sochi. 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 You're gonna make me come again. Mebuki said as she bit into her robe. Ka-chan, I'm gonna come inside you. It's gonna be dangerous, Dadbao. Yes. Yes. So dangerous. So very dangerous. My son coming as hard as he can inside me, trying to impregnate me, is that what you want? You want me to carry your child, Sochi? Mebuki asked. She rubbed her thoughts together as she pictured Naruto's reaction to her words. She could feel his harden inside the sticky, slimy walls of her sheath. Ka-chan, 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 Ka-chan. Yes, yes. Come inside me, Sochi. Oh me with your beautiful. Oh you're gonna make me come again. Mebuki said as she arched back while her fingers brought her to an amazing orgasm that released her bliss over the chair she was sitting in. She could feel the muscles in her legs tense as she held her body in the air for at least 30 seconds before dropping down. She huffed and puffed as she stared at her completely soaked fingers. She hungrily stuck them in her mouth and began to them greedily. Dear Cammy, when did masturbating to her son become better than with her own husband? During her time with Kazashi, he hadn't gotten her off once. Just the mere thought of her son, of her Naruto, had made her orgasm 5 times. At least 3 or 4 less than when they had shared their night those weeks ago. When Yoshino and the other mothers started talking about their children, there was something in that talk that broke Mebuki. It wasn't fair. Of course she could brag about her daughter and her accomplishments, but what could she also say about her son? Nothing. The answer was absolutely nothing. As far as the rest of the world was concerned, Mebuki only had 1 child, not 2. Mebuki ran back home, and when Kazashi had come back she had practically thrown herself at him until they arrived tonight. She wondered if she was perhaps just feeling frustrated since her time with Naruto, but tonight that was obviously not the only issue. What was happening to her?